October 2025. You're listening to SAFM on the traditional radio airwaves. We are on 104 to 107. We are also live on all our digital platforms. That is safm.co.za. SAFM Radio on YouTube. We are at SAFM Radio on Facebook and also on X. All of those platforms, we are live on those platforms. Welcome to it, the Thursday edition of the Morning Brief here on SAFM. Come, let us huddle together for the next 3 hours so we can inform and engage one another as well as sharpen each other's perspectives on the key issues of the day. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours, as what's been its happy political home for decades looks on the verge of a breakup, who will get to keep COSATU? As political dynamics within the ANC-led tripartite alliance continue to shift, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, that is COSATU, has announced that it has not decided yet whether to support the ANC or the SACP in the upcoming 2026 local government elections. Instead, the Trade Union Federation continues to call for unity in the alliance, even as the two other protagonists, the ANC and the SACP, seem to be pulling further apart, particularly in the wake of the SACP's decision to contest the elections next year independently of the ANC for the first time. So at about 10 to 7 this morning, we'll be in conversation with Matthew Parks, who is the parliamentary coordinator for COSATU, just weighing in, including reflecting on a recent bilateral that COSATU had with the ANC and what came out of that, and whether that's helping them decide which direction they're going to choose when the SACP is going its own direction, at least electorally, and the ANC is also going in its own direction. Whether then COSATU's fate is really the center of the question that we'll be asking as we engage with Matthew Parks at about 10 to 7 this morning. Past state largesse morphs into a financial nightmare that's come back to haunt former President Jacob Zuma, with echoes of pay back the money all over again. In a significant legal and financial setback for the former president, the Gauteng division of the High Court in Pretoria ruling that he must personally repay 28.9 million rand used to fund his private legal battles over the years. So you'll probably be thinking, what's new? Because you will have heard of this decision some time ago. Well, what you heard was a judgment of the Supreme Court of Appeal in 2021, which said that the payments that had been made in relation to his corruption, matter that has been before the courts, those payments were unlawful and should be recovered. His lawyers had tried to argue, Mr. Zuma and his lawyers had argued that, the Supreme Court of Appeal had made that, but, it didn't mean that he personally was meant to then repay that money. He was not to pay back that money personally. The judge, Anthony Miller, finding that it is readily apparent that the SCA, the full bench judgment of the SCA, intended that the order made relating to repayment was made in respect of Mr. Zuma personally. So this marks another chapter in Zuma's long and controversial legal history, now with potentially severe financial consequences. Our Samgele Masego will report on that extensively for you just after 7 a.m. He'll be talking to us at the top of the hour, so look out for that full reporting from Samgele. Some new reporting from Daily Maverick revealing a particularly concerning dimension of the country's gambling phenomenon. Remember, we told you a couple of days ago about the National Gambling Board reporting a staggering 1.5 trillion rand in gambling turnover and 75 billion rand revenue for the industry in the 2024-2025 period. There was a sharp increase driven by online platforms in the main. We also told you about vulnerable population groups also flagged for gambling problems. Well, Daily Maverick going a bit deeper on that story and gathering the personal testimonies from students at Walter Sisulu University and the University of Johannesburg, revealing the emotional toll and financial consequences of gambling, including debt, embarrassment, dropping out, and loss of trust within families. So this part of what it reveals is just an increasing number of students that we are told are using even their NSFAS allowances to fund online gambling, leading to financial hardship. So we'll be talking to the reporter at the heart of it all, Siyabonga Koni, who will come through and just share some of those insights with us. And that conversation coming up at about 10 to 7 this morning. And of course, as always, we have all of your regulars locked and loaded, the team at full bench and full strength today and ready to serve up all of your updates throughout the 3 hours. Let's have a conversation then while we're at it over the next 3 hours. The numbers to dial 086 000 2032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107. All right, let's get into it then. The first hour of the morning brief on this Thursday starts now.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
13 minutes after 6. Let's get it started then with Melissa Puta and the morning brief in brief. Melissa, let's start with the so-called Amapanya, the latest news. What's the latest coming out regarding the status of Amapanyaza, the Gauteng crime prevention wardens?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. The Gauteng government has announced it will phase out the controversial crime prevention wardens known as Amapanyaza over the next 36 months, retraining them as traffic police or redeploying them to other security roles. Premier Panyaza Lesufi assured that the over 8,000 wardens, they won't be left unemployed despite legal concerns raised about the unit's legitimacy. The move follows criticism from police leadership who deemed the unit as unlawful. While opposition parties slammed the program as wasteful, Lesufi insisted the wardens were never meant to replace police but to support law enforcement. The retraining aims to formalize and legalize their role in crime prevention.
And the community around Milnerton High School outraged over this incident. Some protests taking place there.
Yes, so police used stun grenades to disperse protesters, including EFF members and parents who were there protesting outside the Milnerton High School in Cape Town, following outrage over a viral video showing a brutal initiation assault by senior pupils allegedly linked to the school's rugby team. 8 boys have received precautionary suspensions and face disciplinary and possible criminal action for their bullying. The attack, which injured younger pupils, including a 16-year-old cancer survivor, has sparked widespread condemnation. The Western Cape Education Department is providing counselling and called for the video to stop being circulated on social media. The incident also occurred amid matric exams, prompting efforts to maintain a calm environment within the school.
And staying with matters of education, in KwaZulu-Natal, we've been focusing on the plight of special schools. Some new developments coming out of that story, especially around the financial position of many special schools.
Yes, so the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has paid norms and standard funding to special schools for the second quarter, but many remain closed due to ongoing challenges. The South African National Association for Special Education acknowledged the payments, but said it falls far short of covering essential needs like transport and support staff. Currently, 38 of the 58 SENASE-affiliated special schools are still closed, though those who that have matriculants have reopened just for the exam's sake. Senase insists that schools will remain closed until core issues such as the transport, the staff and operational fundings are addressed by the department. The department promised continued support and urged schools to raise concerns with district officers while also admitting delays in disbursements. Political parties weighed in. The ANC has welcomed the payments but urged that protected consistent funding to avoid further disruptions. The DA also called it a province-wide systematic failure, citing specific schools facing closure and severe neglect. The department has not issued a further response at this time, but we will wait and see how this progresses in future.
Yeah. All right, so it's good to see that at least there's some progress in that story. I remember it vividly from a couple of days ago. Melissa, thank you for that. I remember that story. We were talking about it. Sanasa was saying that they are not calling for the closure of special schools, but rather the financial situation, the dire straits that these schools find themselves in mean that the schools had no option but to close.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, on the weather front, no warnings coming through from the South African Weather Service, but there is an advisory that we need to alert you to. It is for hot and humid all right, slow down. Hot and humid weather will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions in places over the Amatole and OR Tambo district municipalities in the Eastern Cape, as well as along the coast and adjacent interior of KwaZulu-Natal, except for the extreme north coast. So that is the advisory that we needed to flag for you. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria is fine with a minimum of 13 and a maximum of 28. Johannesburg, fine, 11 to 27. Vereeniging, fine, 11 to 27. Mbombela, fine, 11 to 27. Polokwane, fine, 9 to 27. Mahikeng, fine, 10 to 28. Bloemfontein, fine, 11 to 29. Kimberley, fine, 11 to 31. Uppington will be fine and windy, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, 17 to 32. Cape Town will be partly cloudy, becoming fine in the afternoon with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 22. George will be fine, becoming partly cloudy from the afternoon with a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 22. Gqeberha will be partly cloudy, becoming cloudy in the evening with isolated showers and thunder showers in places overnight, 17 to 27. East London, fine, becoming partly cloudy, 19 to 35. Durban will be fine with a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 30. Richards Bay, fine, 16 to 32. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be fine with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 32.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T&Cs online. Standard rates apply.
I'm Reverend Musa Zondi, the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs in KwaZulu-Natal. From the 22nd to the 24th of October 2025, we will be meeting with government leaders, economists, industrialists and investors at the KwaZulu-Natal Investment Conference to be held at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli ICC in Durban. This conference, organized by one of the department's public entities, Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal, will be officially opened by the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, the Honorable Thamsanqa Ntuli, who will elaborate on unique investment opportunities in sectors such as manufacturing, the oceans economy, tourism and many others that make our province a preferred destination for investment and industrial growth. For more information about this conference, please visit www.tikzn.co.za or follow Trade and Investment KwaZulu-Natal on social media platforms.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
21 minutes after 6, Russia launched a devastating large-scale air assault across Ukraine early on Wednesday, leaving at least 6 civilians dead, including a 6-month-old baby, and plunging much of the country into darkness and chaos. The attack, involving missiles, drones and fighter jets, struck multiple regions, including Kyiv, Odessa and Kharkiv, causing widespread power outages, destroying homes and severely damaging energy infrastructure. The timing is significant, coming amid diplomatic confusion over a potential summit between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump, a meeting that Trump has now downplayed as potentially a waste of time. So let's speak to Professor Abel Esterhazy, who is a member of the Department of Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time, Prof. So let's start with the impact that we are seeing. It's on major cities, as we say, Kyiv, Odessa and Kharkiv, but also targeting energy infrastructure. Is it a continuation of a strategy that's been in play for a couple of months, or are we seeing an escalation of sorts?
Yeah, I don't think there's a difference at all and a change at all in Russia's strategy here. Russia has for months now been attacking Ukraine infrastructure with strategic weapons. So this is no change in Russia's strategy. It is precisely what Russia has been doing for quite some time now. And one has to emphasize here, and this is quite important, that Russia is very deliberately attacking civilian infrastructure. In other words, Russia is trying to get to the will of the Ukraine people with their strategy of attacking public infrastructure deliberately, and so they don't discriminate positively against certain targets. They're deliberately attacking civilian infrastructure, and this is aimed at the will of the Ukraine people and trying to break their will to sustain the war effort. I think this is very important to understand that. The other part of the strategy, of course, is the battlefield strategy, where they're trying to take ground by means of I almost want to say old school warfare, where we've seen Russia not being that successful, but their strategic bombing have been very successful, and Ukraine is paying the price for it. I mean, the fact that it's very cold, it's winter, it's without power, is a major issue in attacking the will of the people here.
And by contrast, how would you gauge the strategy by Ukraine, also involving quite a fair amount of use of unmanned aerial vehicles? Drones have been in play also for a couple of months, with varying strategies on how exactly to deploy them and maximize their impact. But also there's been this talk about the missiles, the Storm Shadow missiles, as well as the recent conversations about access potentially to the Tomahawk missiles.
Yeah, Russia, or rather Ukraine, has a different approach to Russia. Ukraine don't want to be seen as attacking and killing Russians. And so it is very discriminatory in its selection of targets in Russia. And so what you do see in the case of Ukraine is that they are deliberately targeting very specific targets, and you will see Ukraine attacking military targets firstly in Russia. They're trying to steer away from civilian targets, but they're deliberately targeting the petro industry in Russia. And they're targeting the petro industry in Russia for no other reason than Russia being dependent on petro industry and the export of petro in products. And so their focus is trying to bring Russia to its senses by means of an economic strategy, putting pressure economically on Russia by attacking the petro industry. And so trying to convince Putin specifically, because the petro industry is the main industry funding the war effort in Russia. So they're doing the same thing, but they are different in their target selection of what they are attacking in the different countries.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time. Professor Abel Esterhazy is a member of the Department of Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So career bests for Mutusami and Rabada. You're saying that they've given the Proteas the upper hand in the second test.
Absolutely. I mean, we are hanging on here tighter than, I don't know, what a driver in Joburg traffic. But anyway, that's Rob Burns. Let's talk about sports. Saniran Muthusamy says he'll remember his partnership with Kagiso Rabada for a long time after the two guided the Proteas to a 404-run first innings total against Pakistan in their second test. Muthusamy and Rabada shared an unlikely 98-run stand at the Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium, posting respective career best scores of 89 and 71 to give their side a 71-run lead. That was some good work with the ball, had the host leading by only 23 runs for the loss of 4 wickets by stumps on day 3 in the second innings. Yes, Sanuran Muthusamy.
It was an innings of the highest standard. I think the ball striking in those conditions was superb. He's such a naturally free-flowing batter. That was an incredible innings from Cage. Yeah, I ended up playing a bit of a supporting role as the innings went on because he was just seeing it so nicely and hitting it so clean. It was a fantastic partnership and one that we'll remember and hopefully can put us into a really strong position.
Let's go to soccer action. Banyana were held to a 1-1 draw by the Democratic Republic of Congo in the first leg of their Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Playing away from home without coach Desiree Ellis and several overseas stars, South Africa still managed to grab a vital away goal. Meanwhile, Tsapang Moremi's decisive strike helping Orlando Pirates edge Polokwane City 1-0 at the Orlando Stadium last night. Here's their coach, Abdusalam Wadu.
Our target it was to straight away since the beginning to try to score early. Things that we did with the high intensity and the high pressure. But this goal came with a very good, interesting building, finding the players in the between the lines and well built, and we finish in the box with a very good building.
Let's go to Kaizer Chiefs. They've lost more ground in the Betway Premiership, and that's being held to a goalless draw by struggling Siwelele at the FNB Stadium. And it was goals galore in the Champions League last night. Chelsea putting 5 past Ajax in a 5-1 victory at Stamford Bridge.
Where was I when that was happening? What?
Just when you don't know what's happening, they are banging in 5. Anyway, let's go to the other action that saw Liverpool as well thumping Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 away from home. Bayern Munich, ruthless, sweeping aside Club Brugge 4-0 in Germany. Real Madrid edging Juventus 1-0, and that was at the Bernabeu. Galatasaray beating Bodo Glimt 3-1. Sporting Lisbon also claimed a 2-1 win over Marseille, while Athletic Bilbao were 3-1 victors over Karabakh. Elsewhere, Monaco and Tottenham, along with Atalanta and Slavia Prague, played out to a goalless stalemate. That's your sport. We'll head back for more Top of the Hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, witness B has testified about the interference she encountered after cracking the Armand Swart murder case. A telephone recording between witness B and the Sidibeng District Commissioner was played at the Matlanga Commission yesterday. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has admitted that the SAPS is battling with corruption and factionalism at its top structures. He appeared for a fourth day before Parliament's ad hoc committee yesterday. And the DA in Gauteng is demanding answers regarding the accreditation and funding for the retraining of crime prevention wardens as traffic officers. Premier Panyaza Lesufi announced yesterday that the wardens will undergo a phased training to be designated the same legal standing as Gauteng Traffic Police. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're driving out of Pretoria down through Midrand, just keep your eyes open for a stationary vehicle. It's in the middle lane between Old Joburg Road and Samrand Road, so things will start backing up through there. Other side of town, the N1 North, quite heavy again this morning, coming up from Eldo's, Devlin, down through Dipcliffe Interchange. If you're coming off the N1 onto the N12 to Uncle Charlie's, it's all very busy. Durban, no major problems really. The N3 looking good between Cliffdale and Keyridge, either Durban bound or Pietermaritzburg bound. No breakdown surprises at this stage. Cape Town, two major events. One is the closure of Baden-Powell Drive again this morning due to protesting. Baden-Powell closed between Walter Sisulu and the N2. A lot of pressure on the local alternatives, particularly Jeff K. Masemola and Spine Road Junction at Khayelitsha seems to be a favoured sort of local detour. So there's traffic all over that on all approaches. And the M3, Philip Kosana Drive, this is a big deal, closed now until Monday between Hospital Bend and the city centre. It's closed because of the Speed Classic event that is being set up through there. So today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, until about 5 a.m. Monday, Philip Kasana, a no-go, will cause problems, big problems, I'm anticipating, inbound, particularly around Hospital Bend, and outbound on Mill Street, as you find you have to divert through the city centre. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
For the first update of the morning, let's turn to Ndauling Lichela. Ndauling, good morning. I've got a bit of a chuckle. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how, but I know who Fenty Beauty is.
I would judge you if you didn't.
Really? Yeah, I know who it is. And tell me about LVMH mulling selling its stake in Fenty Beauty.
So this is according to reports saying that the luxury giant is considering selling its 50% stake in Fenty Beauty, the cosmetics brand it co-owns with Rihanna. Now, according to sources, LVMH has hired Evercore to advise on a potential deal. Neither party has confirmed or denied the rumor. Now, Fenty Beauty has been around since 2017, and its launch has been lauded one of the industry's most successful ones, recording around $450 million in net sales last year. So the business could be valued at about $1 billion to $2 billion. Fenty's rise reflects the wider boom in celebrity-led beauty ventures such as Kylie Jenner's Kylie Cosmetics, and most recently, we've seen the rise in Hailey Bieber's Rhode. Now, celebrity brands generated over $1 billion in between 2022 and 2023, growing nearly 5 times faster than the broader market. Though analysts note longevity depends on credibility and innovation beyond fame. Now, this potential move also comes amid strong deal making in the beauty sector, with more than 290 transactions last year, up about 15% on an annual basis. For LVMH, the potential sale may mark a strategic shift as it looks to redeploy capital into newer growth opportunities.
There's probably a business school module in the making here in Dowling about what happens when the CEO decides to go on a frolic of his own, a political frolic of his own for a few months. And then what happens when he comes back and he focuses? Tell me about Tesla and the revenue growth that they are delivering now.
So it seems like, as Elon Musk focuses on what's important, his actual business, we are seeing some sort of recovery. Tesla's third quarter showed a return to top-line growth, but weaker profitability as price cuts, higher costs, and policy shifts weighed on margins. Now, revenues rose 12%, and this is the first time it rose in the last 2 quarters. So we saw declines in Q1 and Q2, but here we are back in growth with revenue coming in higher. Now, revenue was helped by a rush in US EV sales before federal tax credits expired, though net income fell 37%. Now, the automotive revenue grew 6%, but profits were hurt by lower vehicle prices, a 44% drop in regulatory credit sales, and a 50% jump in operating expenses linked to AI and R&D projects. Now, the company continued to face headwinds in Europe, where competition from VW and BYD and backlash against Elon Musk's political rhetoric dampened demand. However, its energy generation and storage division was a bright spot, with revenue there up 44%, now roughly a quarter of total sales, driven by rising demand for mega pack batteries and solar products, including purchases from Musk's AI startup XAI. Executives provided little concrete guidance but reiterated its growth plans. Despite signs of stabilizing demand, Tesla's focus on expansion and innovation continues to pressure near-term profitability and somewhat tests investor confidence. And so even though we saw an increase in revenue and some sort of improvement, the share price still tanked in yesterday's session.
All right, recap for us how we closed yesterday and the tone that is being set this morning.
Stateside's market took a hit with stocks closing in the red, traders digesting mixed earnings and some profit taking. The tech-heavy Nasdaq leading the losses, down close to 1%, following declines in Tesla overnight. And then back at home, markets mostly in negative territory on the back of falling gold prices, which resulted in a 2.3% fall in the Resi, in turn leading to a flat finish, with the JSE all share slipping 0.06%. The rand is still on the back foot this morning at 17.44 to the greenback. Meanwhile, oil climbing up over 3% this hour to $64 per barrel on the back of geopolitical tensions, which saw the Trump administration slap additional sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies. Traders in Asia also eyeing those geopolitical tensions, with investors more risk averse, and so markets on that front are in the red.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. We'll catch up with you for the second update just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
All right, for that, let's turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, let's start in Cote d'Ivoire, Yamoussoukro. Tell me about the build-up. Alassane Ouattara seeking a fourth term, and also tell me about the other candidates that are in the running.
Refreshing morning to that and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. To us, what is coming out clear is, that Cote d'Ivoire decides on the 25th of this month on Saturday. Interestingly, we have 8.7 million people who are registered to vote. Amid the fears of violence, we have touched on the candidates to us. But what is interesting, what I'll always call the soft landing of the power of culture through poetry. A young person at the age of 33 in Ivory Coast, Placide Konan, have said that you need a lot of luck or maybe a bit of magic to live comfortably. This is what's happening, that we know Cote d'Ivoire hosted the Africa Cup of Nations 2024, but still the young people in that country are lamenting to us in terms of inequality and the poverty rate. We know to us that in terms of those who will be challenging Alassane Ouattara going for the fourth term, it still include the wife of Laurent Gbagbo and other candidates who are not actually strong enough to can challenge Alassane Ouattara. Security challenge, we did raise it yesterday to us. I think as tomorrow we are building up on the Cote d'Ivoire decides. We'll look at the observer missions. Who is in Cote d'Ivoire to us to observe the electoral process?
I was chuckling because you've put Yamoussoukro there, and it reminded me that that's one of the countries with a capital city that is a bit confusing. You would think it's Abidjan, but it's actually Yamoussoukro. In Nigeria, you would think it's Lagos, but it's actually Abuja. And of course, in South Africa, you would think it's Johannesburg, but you'd be completely wrong. And I think there are many of those. Let's go to a capital that we do know, Khartoum. Small things, Sipho, that get disrupted in the course of a conflict, such things as the landing of a domestic flight, becomes something that's of significance when it happens.
Absolutely, Thulas. We know that the war erupted in 2023 between RSF and the Sudanese army. That only yesterday a domestic passenger flight landed at Khartoum International Airport. And Thulas, others are saying it's a gradually reopening of air traffic. Despite that, on Tuesday, RSF fired a drone, Thulas, but it was intercepted militarily. And that's how you can look at this war that has taken place, Thulas. Almost 40,000 people killed, 12 million people moved out of their places of origin, and also 24 million people are facing acute food insecurity. But as you said, the issue of the air traffic and the domestic flights, the Sudanese civil aviation said that they will resume this week, Thulas. But like I said, there's still war going on, and it seems it's the war of drones.
And tell me about the SADC fact-finding mission to Madagascar, a role for the former president of Malawi, Joyce Banda.
That's quite true, Thulas. Remember, Malawi it is the chair of the SADC organ on politics, defense, and security. Now, Mutharika has deployed the former president, Mayor Joyce Banda, and other members of the SADC panel of elders and the mediating reference group who will be joining alongside the SADC secretariat to go and engage with the leaders of the island of Madagascar, Thulas, to look at the root causes of the current political and security crisis. Mayor Banda said that he has a hope that their mission will restore peace, stability through inclusive and lasting solutions. Not sure, Thulas, are they overtaken by events, but it appears that the deputy of Madagascar might have to come in, or Zimbabwe can still call the meetings of SADC as an outgoing chairperson, if you recall, Thulas, in August when it came to Madagascar. So the mission, will it achieve its purpose when you see the Gen Z yesterday saying, we're not happy with the businessman Rajoyina Rivelo being appointed by the new colonel. So let's wait and see what will happen in the island of Madagascar and Antananarivo.
And two significant events that you want to flag, Sipho, in your historical archives. One on 23 October 1990 and another on 23 October 2006.
And I think you could see the Thulas, that's what I call the intergenerational. There you look at the Lion of Azania, that Zef Mutupeng, who passed away on this day in 1990s, almost 35 years ago. Zef Mutupeng, you'll recall, when you think of June 16, you think of the Bethel trial. He served his sentence in the Robben Island, charged under Terrorism Act and sentenced to 15 years. Just coming back from home in the late 80s to last 1990, we lost the Lion of Azania. For the youth, they'll never forget this Kwaito saying, Lebo, Precious Matosa, the Wuhang, Precious Matosa, Thulas, who died 19 years ago on this day at the age of 29, just coming out of performance with Kate Sweat, Thulas. This was said when you look at this young Kwaito artist from Boomshaka by the name of Lebogang Precious Matosa. You will, I don't know which song you love. Me, I still love Out There. You know, Out There, Thulas. Out There. I don't know.
I remember that, man. I remember that.
So,
I can't think of one now, but I mean, it was an iconic voice.
That is quite true, Thulas. With the Boomshaka, and he went solo, and she has been on the Summer Awards, but he was scouted or eared in the music by Don Laka at the age of 17. Yeah. So you can see that South Africa had a gem of this Kwaito singer, Lebogang Precious Matosa. Asante sana, Thulas, as we're still in your conversation, SAFM.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update for today.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
It It's jam-packed with pressure on the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2 in the first elimination challenge as the contestants learn how to make their own jams and preserves from scratch. Who will spread the love and who will get themselves in a sticky situation? That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. only on SABC2.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
14 minutes to 7. A troubling trend is emerging in the country's higher education. Increasing numbers of students that are using their NSFAS allowances to fund online gambling, leading to financial hardship, emotional distress, academic decline, and in some cases, addiction. With online betting platforms aggressively targeting youth through influencer marketing and widespread digital advertising, gambling is no longer confined to casinos. It's now in the pockets of students just a few taps away. What was meant to support education has, for some, become the gateway to financial ruin. Let's speak to Siyabonga Koni, an education reporter from Daily Maverick. Good morning to you, Siyabonga, and thank you for your time. So it's interesting insights because it comes off the back of the recent reporting from the National Gambling Board that reported that, the industry garnered some 1.5 trillion rand in terms of turnover and 75 billion rand in terms of revenue for the industry. Tell me about the work that you did at these universities, the conversations that you had with students about this matter.
Morning, Thulas, and good morning to the listeners themselves. Yes, I mean, as you said, tertiary students are really deep when it comes to gambling. So this was a trend that I've sort of seen because as I'm working within the higher education space. So what I did was then try to find students who have addiction problems. And then I actually found a few that came out from the University of WUSU. Some came from the University of Johannesburg. So I actually spoke to them where they were sharing the fact that their allowances would come in and they would take a sum of that money. For example, if the book allowance would come in, which is around 5.2, 5.6 thousand, and then they would take some of that money, put it on the Betway Aviator games or on Hollywood Bets, or some would even because there's plenty of these betting online games, so some would use sporting bets, stuff like that. So they would bet this money and they would lose in most cases, and then go again to borrow amounts amounting to 4,000 just to bet again, so that in their minds they can try bring back that money that was lost. And this would in most cases lead them to not even buying groceries for themselves. So it was that sort of a trend where they were really struggling to get out of it.
And you had these conversations at WUSU as well as University of Joburg, yeah? Yeah. So tell me, what is the allure of gambling? What were they sharing with you about what attracts them?
I mean, when I was speaking to one student from WUSU, he mentioned the fact that they're in pursuit of what he said, a soft life. So they would keep seeing people online that will keep on winning and that sort of stuff, and they would then want to win. So when I also spoke to the Rise Mzansi MP Ghana, he sort of shared also the fact that the use of influencers when it comes to these betting sites, where Betway sometimes uses influencers such as Simpiwe Chabalala or an individual such as Simpiwe Chabalala to be the face or the ambassador of the brand. That sort of makes students or young people keep seeing what's happening, and they would get attracted in that sense.
And you also explored the emotional side of it, the psychosocial side of it. Tell me what was shared with you by the students.
So when it came to that, I mean, it was really tough. There was one student who wanted to remain anonymous from WUSU, who sort of shared the fact that this was even affecting them when it came to home, because at home they would receive money, and then that money would still go again into gambling, and they would hide that from the family, the fact that they're using their money for gambling. And a clinical psychologist, by the way, Dr. Mashego, also shared that students cannot make a difference when it comes to cannot make even sound decisions, meaning that even if they lose, they would keep going again, start betting or start even stealing just to feed their addiction. So the fact that gambling now is so accessible, it's on TV, it's on social media, because you're looking at even the soccer leagues now, the Betway Premiership. So it's in TV, and therefore, the use of influencers then again, or in the face of for the face of betting, is keeps on attracting young people to get into stuffs like gambling.
So what conversation is triggered by the piece that you've written, Siyabonga, in terms of the various role players that come into the picture, your NSFAS, your National Gambling Board, as well as legislators? You mentioned Makashule Kana as one of those people that you engaged with.
I mean, when I spoke to NSFAS, the fact to understand whether they are aware of this trend. So NSFAS had said to me that they haven't received any complaints or any indication of the fact that the students are using allowances for gambling. However, they said that they will continue to monitor and review the processes to ensure that students are actually using their money appropriately. So, and then when it came to also speaking with the National Gambling Board, the acting CEO, Lungile Dukwana, he sort of shared the fact that the use of the social media influencers and the public personalities to sort of promote online and inactive gambling products is inconsistent with the principle of responsible gambling, and they are in the process now of trying to fight against the use of influencers, and individuals such as Ghana also promoting to not use gambling, or to not promote gambling frequently. There should be hours or certain times that gambling can be promoted. So it created a lot of conversation. How gambling or how gambling should be advertised, the use of influencers. So yeah, that was the case. All
right, great work on your side. Thank you for that, Siyabonga Koni, education reporter at Daily Maverick.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning, Gauteng. First up, quite heavy coming in from the south again today. The N1 from El Dorado Park. In fact, from the N12 Potch Highway, the N1 North all the way up through Dipcliff down to Uncle Charlie's, absolutely packed. The Mike 1's got a different traffic pattern this morning. Looks like something around Crown, coming through from Gold Reef City into that sort of M2 Crown interchange area. Very heavy. And the N3 North queuing heavily up into the roadworks at Buccleuch. Also, if you come through from Brakpan and Springs, there are roadworks just after the Heidelberg Road off-ramp on the N17. And then roadworks at Rondebolt Road. So 2 queues to work through. And the crash coming out of Benoni this morning before Atlas Road. So quite a heavy backlog there as well. Durban, the Kwamashu Highway lights are out at Duffs Road and also at the N2. The Kwamashu Highway from Malandela Road, very heavily backed up. That's some cable theft. Might take a while to sort of restore that and get those lights working. It's a very busy, high volume run. That Marshu Highway under pressure. Cape Town, Philip Kosana Drive. This is the big deal. Philip Kosana, the M3 closed completely. Hospital Bend through towards Rowland Street. So basically, Hospital Bend to the city centre. Philip Kosana M3 closed. And get this, right? It's permanently closed now until Monday morning. And that is already causing major backlogs inbound on the N2 as motorists arrive there. When they can't take Philip Kosana, they've got to go down through Nelson Mandela Boulevard. So it is going to be a particularly busy one. If you're inbound on the N2 as well, it's already backed up to Roberts Bukwe out by the airport. And Baden-Powell Drive still closed. Full closure there between Walter Sisulu and the N2 highway. Traffic primarily diverting along Spine Road and Jeff K. Masemola through Khayelitsha, but anything that operates as an alternative route through that part of Khayelitsha is busy with the extra traffic volumes. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
In fitness, as in finance, endurance is key. If you're 55 and older, you can get an interest rate of up to 10.47% with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Now feel the earn. Invest in under 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. For more info, visit nedbank.co.za.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
5 minutes to 7. As what's been its happy political home for decades looks on the verge of a breakup, who will get to keep COSATU? as political dynamics within the ANC-led tripartite alliance continue to shift. The Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, has announced that it has not yet decided whether to support the ANC or the SACP in the upcoming 2026 local government elections. Instead, the Trade Union Federation continues to call for unity in the alliance, even as the other two protagonists, the ANC and the SACP, seem to be pulling further apart, particularly in the wake of the SACP's decision to contest elections independently for the first time. Let's speak to Matthew Parks, Parliamentary Coordinator for COSATU. Good morning to you, Matthew, and thank you for your time. You recently had a bilateral with the ANC. Tell me how that has shifted the conversation, or perhaps moved the conversation, and your own thinking as COSATU about what to do in this situation where, electorally at least, your two other alliance partners are now poles apart.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. Well, look, it went quite well. We thought there was many positive areas of agreement. I think what's most critical is about what to do next. But, our membership, our delegates at our recent Central Committee, which is like our midterm policy conference, so to speak, were quite clear that, one, we cannot allow COSATU to be divided. COSATU belongs to workers, not to political parties. Number two is that we want the alliance to remain intact. We believe the alliance is the correct, the most effective political vehicle we have to improve workers' lives, to advance working class struggles. It's achieved many good things, and it's got much more to do. And that we want to retain our relationship and strengthen it with the ANC, and also want to retain our relationship and strengthen it with the SACP. So the mandate from our Central Committee was the COSATU leadership has to go and engage the SACP, which we've done, to engage the ANC, which we've now done, to bring them together and to make sure that we find the relevant modalities, including the reconfiguration of the alliance, including how we will contest as a single political vehicle, as the alliance, the local election next year. We don't know what the modalities are because the party has taken a decision at its Congress to contest. The ANC also has, standing position to contest. But I think for us it was critical that whatever we do, we have to agree upon it, we have to be united around it, and not to allow it to weaken the alliance, but rather to strengthen it. It's a difficult thing, and hence COSATU has been mandated to see how we manage this very delicately.
I'm glad you acknowledge how difficult it is, Matthew, and I was going to say to you, has the horse not already bolted on some of these issues? Just the rhetoric alone, for instance, at the formation of the Government of National Unity and the strong feelings that were being expressed by the SACP leadership, and some of the other sentiments that you keep seeing coming through over a period of time, just the differences, have they not become fundamental?
Well, even if the horse is bolted, you can go and fetch the horse. You just need a bridle to go and collect it and bring it back to the paddock, which is what we want to do because the horse has got value. It's a winning horse. It has won every election since 1994. It's delivered on many fronts. But we want to do it now because your point is correct. There's urgency of now. We don't want to be doing this thing in November next year, a week before an election, for example. And the sooner we do it, the better. Not just because of elections, because also you need to have a coherence in government. You need government to understand what exactly is it implementing, making sure it does so, making sure it's accountable, etc. And I think for us, this is not something we take lightly at all. And hence, in our Central Committee, we're very clear. We're not choosing sides here. We're choosing both the ANC and the SACP, and we need to find out how we're going to manage the differences. The differences will always be that's natural because of different organizations, different mandates. But we think there's more that unites us than divides us, to quote the ODDF saying. And for us, this is sacrosanct. We can't afford to see so many games post-94 to be at risk because we're unable to manage some areas of differences.
So very quickly then, do you foresee yourselves playing some kind of a mediator role? And in fact, have you crystallized that? Or is it just something that remains a potential that you could potentially become mediators? Or are you actively trying to occupy that space?
It's like that is the specific wording of our Central Committee resolution. COSATU go and engage them, go and mediate, and make sure you find a solution. And if COSATU must convene the alliance, we'll do it. But ultimately, we have to make sure that we're on the same page as the ANC and the SACP, and we resolve our issues.
All right, Matthew, I've got to thank you for your time. Matthew Parks is Parliamentary Coordinator for the Congress of South African Trade Unions, that is COSATU. Brings us to 7 a.m. Let's go to Ann Musa. She's on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, witness testimony on alleged interference in Armand Swart murder case and DA demands answers on Amapanyaza's phased training. Good morning. Witness B has testified about the interference that her and witness A encountered after cracking the Armand Swart murder case. A telephone recording between witness B and the Sidibeng District Commissioner, Brigadier Mbangwa Nkwashu, was played at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday. In the recording, Nkwashu can be heard speaking to witness B about how he's been instructed to get the dockets for the Armand Swart case.
PC, and to collect all those dockets, including that docket of yours, and go give it to him. And the instructions were given to us as district commissioners. And if we are not handing in those dockets to him, we're gonna be facing the disciplinary steps.
Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has admitted that the SAPS is battling with corruption and factionalism at its top structures. He appeared for a fourth day before Parliament's ad hoc committee yesterday. The committee is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the justice system made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Mchunu says drastic change is needed to overhaul the SAPS to restore public confidence.
Down the line, you would have needed some measures. Maybe not wholesale overhaul, but you would have needed measures to overhaul certain aspects of South African police service if you are to gain confidence. One of those is to say, what are the norms and standards for a police station? Police and policing is what people see on a daily basis.
The DA in Gauteng is demanding answers regarding the accreditation and funding for the retraining of crime prevention wardens as traffic officers. Premier Panyaza Sufi yesterday announced the wardens will undergo a phased training to be designated the same legal standing as Gauteng Traffic Police. Sufi says the restructuring will not require extra funding. DA Gauteng leader Solim Simanga says the move confirms the long-held warnings that the program was poorly planned and underfunded.
We'll be also asking how is then the new training going to take place? Who is going to be paying for it? Is there a budget for it? And also, is this training now that they're going to be received accredited? More importantly, we will also be wondering and we'll be asking questions in terms of how are they going to be integrated into the Metropolis departments or into the traffic department? Who is going to carry the cost of training? Who is going to carry then the cost of employing them when they are going to be employed?
Accused number one in the Senzo Mehiwa murder trial, Muzi Sibiya, is expected back on the witness stand at the High Court in Pretoria for cross-examination. State Prosecutor George Baloyi yesterday probed Sibiya about the alleged assault he says he suffered at the hands of the police. Sibiya and four others are on trial for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Paul Magubane reports.
Sibiya has reiterated that he was repeatedly assaulted and tortured following his arrest in May 2020. The assault is said to have included kicking and face suffocated with a plastic bag. State Prosecutor George Baloyi asked Sibiya if the bag allegedly used to suffocate him was laced with pepper spray, as previously mentioned by his former legal representatives. However, Sibiya could not confirm the pepper spray allegations. Sibiya says despite being kicked multiple times, he was in pain but had no visible injuries. He says the only scars he's left with 5 years later are on his wrists as a result of the tight handcuffs. Advocate Baloyi is expected to zoom into inconsistencies in his testimony.
And finally, the United States Treasury has announced new substantial sanctions against Russia, citing Moscow's lack of serious commitment to a peace process to end the war in Ukraine. In a statement, Treasury said the action increased pressure on Russia's energy sector and reduces the Kremlin's ability to raise revenue for its war machine, which is in turn used to support what the US described as Russia's weakened economy. Showan Bryce-Peace reports.
The statement said the United States would continue to advocate for a peaceful resolution to Russia's war with Ukraine, warning that a permanent peace depended entirely on Moscow's willingness to negotiate in good faith. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent indicated that now was the time to stop the killing and for an immediate ceasefire to be implemented. The US decision sanctions Russia's two largest oil companies that it says funds the war machine, and expressed a preparedness to take further action if necessary to support President Donald Trump's efforts to end the war. The two entities designated are Rosneft Oil and Lukoil.
Recapping the top story, Witness B has testified about the interference that her and Witness A encountered after cracking the Armand Swart murder case. A telephone recording between Witness B and the Sedibeng District Commissioner, Brigadier Mbangwangkwashu, was played at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes hunting for the TV remote, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2024 Kia Picanto, 52-year-old Janine now only pays 561 Rand a month. And for her 2025 Jatura Dashing, 29-year-old Sana pays just 796 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. JCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Soccer action last night where Banyana were held to a 1-1 draw by DR Congo in their WAFCON qualifier first leg, piling the pressure on next week's return leg in South Africa. And we've got live cricket action underway, and it's the Proteas. They're taking on Pakistan. We've struck early with the ball on day 4. Pakistan are reeling on 96 for 5, and they're leading by just 25 runs. Details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Joburg first up. Heavy pressure on the M1 North again today from Eldos up through Devlin through Deepcliff. Big delays. N1 North through Deepcliff down towards Uncle Charlie's. The Mike 1 from Boyson's up to Crown is an unusual queue this morning. And a crash coming out of Benoni on the N12 or westbound, Joburg bound before Atlas Road, pushing queues back towards the Snake Road exit. N3 North and South queuing into the roadworks up at Buccleuch and southbound down to London Road. Durban, long convoy of slow go traffic on the Komashu Highway from Komashu Malandela roadside, moving down towards the N2. Some cable theft there recently has taken out the lights at Duffs Road and also at the N2, so that's going to be busy for the next while. M13 from Hillcrest into Kloof, that looks really heavy this morning, very slow towards the Fields Hill side. Cape Town, Philip Kosana closed, Hospital Bend through to the city centre, both directions full closure to Monday. The M2 coming inbound, motorists being surprised by that closure at Hospital Bend, so some really big backlogs. And Baden Powell Drive still closed at Khayelitsha due to protesting. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on this Thursday. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It's great to be in your company. Among some of the stories we will cover for you in this hour, we'll start off with some reporting coming through from Samgele Masego, reporting on the outcome of that court challenge between the presidency and former President Jacob Zuma Zuma regarding that bill of 28.9 million rand, which the state had spent in supporting the former president's legal battles, in particular his corruption matter that has been running for a good part of the last 2 decades. So Samgele will report on that outcome, because it's not been on the positive side for the former president. In fact, it has echoes, I've been saying, echoes of pay back the money. Samgele on standby to talk to me about that in the next few minutes. And then immediately after Samgele, we'll be talking to the MP, the Action SA MP, Darylyn James. We are reflecting on the recent incident that happened in Westbury in Joburg on Tuesday afternoon, actually, where 2 teenagers were killed in a shooting that is believed to be gang-related. In fact, a total of 5 young people were shot at. 2 of them died on arrival at hospital. So there's been a bit of reflection about the role of gangs and recruitment of young people as gang members, as well as drug mules in some of these communities. And Darylyn James will reflect on that conversation with me at about 7:20 or thereabouts. Your calls, please keep them coming. Let's have the conversation. We are having the conversations, leading the conversations that move us. So you are a big part of those conversations. Do call me 086 000 2032 086 000 2032, or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note on 0614 104 107 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the Thursday edition of the Morning Brief.
Design meets downtime on My Design Rules this Monday evening at 7 on S3. This week, our duos are challenged to create a family space for relaxing and connecting. Expect bold ideas, creative risks, and design drama along the way. Whose design will make the judges feel right at home, and whose will leave them out in the cold. Open up your everyday to the extraordinary with My Design Rules. Monday evenings at 7, repeat Saturdays at 2, and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on S3.
There's a song that goes, "Money can't buy me love." And that's true. But then they told us all you need is love, which anybody with a mortgage will tell you most certainly is not true. Love won't pay your parking tickets or your student loan. It's also needy. It requires effort, availability, constant care. But more importantly, love requires time. And while money can't buy you love, it can certainly free up some of your time. Time to spend on the things you love, with the people you love. And if you're looking, maybe even time to find the one you love. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you love. And don't you love that about investing? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
All right, let's get to the stories. Past state largesse has morphed into something of a financial nightmare that has come back to haunt former President Jacob Zuma, with echoes of pay back the money all over again. In a significant legal and financial setback for the former president, the Gauteng division of the High Court in Pretoria ruling that he must personally repay over 28.9 million rand used to fund his private legal battles over the years. The former president has been unsuccessful in his argument that the 2021 Supreme Court of Appeal judgment against him against his continued funding of his personal legal battles did not mean that he personally was to pay back what the state had already spent. Samgele Masego, senior political reporter here at the SABC, has been tracking that story and joins me now for an update. Samgele, good morning. So it would seem that a central argument was to say that yes, the SCA found that the payments towards his corruption matter in particular were unlawful, but the argument from him and his lawyers was that that didn't mean that he personally needed to pay back the money. Tell me what the judge made of those arguments.
Indeed, Tulas. Advocate Thabani Masuku, representing former President Jacob Zuma last week in court, argued that this particular issue of the SCA judgment did not explicitly say that the monies must be recovered from former President Jacob Zuma, stating that this was an assumption of the legal team of the state Attorney General and also the presidency that these amounts of money must be taken from former President Zuma. Advocate Masuku was arguing that liabilities should also go to the government officials who signed off and who got the legal advice on how to pay these monies to Jacob Zuma's legal team at the time, led by Kemp J. Kemp and Mike Halley. The Judge Miller was arguing the matter that then who should pay if it is not former President Zuma, because it is ultimately Zuma whom received this particular benefit. He may not have received them personally, the funds may have been paid over to his legal team, but he was ultimately the benefactor of these particular funds. Those were some of the questions that Judge Miller was asking the legal team of former President Jacob Zuma, led by Advocate Thabani Masuku, Senior Counsel. But what was also rather interesting was the DA's application that there should be interest paid on this 28.9 million rands that was paid to Zuma's legal team, particularly during that corruption trial that relates to his tallies as well when it comes to the arms deal procurement within the country. They are saying that Zuma must pay the interest as of the date of the order that was ultimately given by the Supreme Court of Appeal.
Sure. So what was ultimately decided then? So we have this 28.9 million rand. Was the issue of interest settled in the judgment?
The issue of interest was not particularly settled at that point in time. The order that was granted yesterday was that former President Jacob Zuma, they did look at his legal cost, which amounted at the time to about 18.9 million rands. And then there was that particular extra amounts of money that was added. And then the order that was granted yesterday said that Zuma must pay this 28.9 million rands within the period of 60 days with the interest. It's going to be rather interesting on how this interest is ultimately calculated. But just to go to judgment, Thulas, I want to just open it at this point in time. I did receive it yesterday from the former president's legal team, and I just want to go to the order in itself and read exactly what it says about the amounts of money that must be paid. The order reads 37.2. In addition to payment of the sum of 28.9 million rand set out in the above, the first respondent is ordered to pay interest as calculated at the rate prescribed by Section 1 of the Prescribed Rate of Interest Act 55 of 1975 to the second applicant, the state, as follows. On the sum of 18.2 from 22 October 21 to 24 January 2024, both inclusive, together with interest of the sum of 28.9 from January 25, 2024 to pay date of payment, both days inclusive.
Sure.
That is essentially what has been calculated by the High Court in collaboration with the legal team of Zuma. I do remember that the state did say that there was about 46 cents that was short of this particular amount, and Advocate Thabani Masuku jokingly also agreed that he can even pay that 42 cents of this particular amount of money. So it is definitely inclusive of the interest when you do calculate it all together to 28.9 million rands that the former president must pay back to the state for having received those particular funds for his corruption trial that relates to the arms deal procurement. And ultimately, it also speaks to the press briefing he will have later on today in KwaZulu-Natal, addressing these matters as the court proceedings were sitting. Former President Jacob Zuma was out of the country in Russia.
Yeah, in fact, say a bit more about that, because I do imagine that he will have a lot to say, will the former president, given that now there's this 60 days for him to pay with a clear plan that says if he doesn't, the state must pursue writs of execution, including execution on his movable and immovable property, as well as the presidential pension.
Indeed, Thulas, that was part of the DA's application, whom did join this particular matter. The state did not agree or did not oppose the DA's application of interest. And this is when the Democratic Alliance came about to say that we can't attach the homestead of former President Jacob Zuma, which is in Nkandla, as he would say, but that because it is under the Ngonyama Trust Board or the Ngonyama Trust Act, and it's not land that is owned by Jacob Zuma, it's land owned by the traditional kings, there was an application that failing which Jacob Zuma's pension must thus then be attached, which is what the court has effectively granted, that if he fails to pay this 29.8 million rands or 28.9 million rands within 60 days, then ultimately the state attorney general must then execute a writ of execution against the former president's immovable and immovable assets, which would include his pension as per the DA's application at the High Court Division in Pretoria. That will ultimately mean he will then respond to these issues today. I do know that Judge Miller did ask the legal team of the Democratic Alliance, led by their senior counsel, that how do they then expect former President Jacob Zuma to live if they attach his pension? And this ultimately means that they were successful in the counter arguments on this particular issue of getting the writ of execution against his immovable and movable assets. One wonders how many assets are actually registered in the name of former President Jacob Zuma, noting that that Forest Hill home that he was staying in Johannesburg was rented from a former ANC member of parliament.
All right. Samgele, thank you for that. And as Samgele flags, there will be an address by former President Jacob Zuma, and maybe then we will hear what the response from his side will be to this development.
The River Islanders are in it to win it, but their visitors, the Iron Union, targets the bag with 3 points. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch SV Werder Bremen up against FC Union Berlin on Friday, 24 October at 8:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
22 minutes after 7, two teenagers were tragically killed in a gang-related shooting in Westbury in Joburg on Tuesday afternoon. The attack, which left three others injured, has intensified national attention on the growing crisis of youth recruitment into gangs. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masimula visiting the scene, vowing a crackdown on gang activity and the drug dens that are enabling it. Let's speak to Darylyn James, Action SA MP and anti-drug activist. Good morning to you, Darylyn, and thank you for your time this morning. So there's been quite a great deal of outrage, rightly so, in the community about the spate of gangs as well as the spread of drugs in the community and the early recruitment of children into these activities. What does this incident say about those phenomena in communities like Westbury?
It is clear that there's been blatant neglect in these areas. I mean, there are many social ills that contributes to where they find themselves at. There's a high school dropout rate. Children are no longer connected to education. You find that poverty is rife in these areas, which sort of make gangsterism sort of attractive to these youngsters. They get offered sneakers, they get offered tracksuits, a sense of belonging, a meal. In the Western Cape, we hear about Pela Posa, which is sort of a haven where where gangsters sort of have these children and recruit them. So that is what is happening in our communities. It is not just going to take SAP, it's going to take a whole of government approach, to sort of address the situation.
So in terms of this early recruitment into gangs and being used as drug peddlers and pushers in communities, what's making that possible? You mentioned the issues around school dropout and disconnection to education and the likes, but what's making it possible for these drug dens and these drug lords to be able to actively recruit young people? What are the factors?
I mean, we are at national level, we are a lawless country. There's no level of intelligence in this country. We hear about the fact that there's only one scanner in our country that is scanning containers coming in. Obviously, this is why these drugs and these weapons are finding its way into our communities. The rot is sort of at the top. We've seen the police deploy many members into these areas over the years. We've seen many ministers descend upon these areas, and there's been no tangible change. There's no tangible change because this government lacks the ability as well as the intelligence to sort of implement a comprehensive response in these areas that is not just consistent of not just that does not just um, sort of look at the policing element, but that looks at all 21 departments responsible for the eradication of drugs and addressing these social ills via the National Drug Master Plan. Social development needs to be there because we see that, there's neglect of children. Department of Education needs to be there to make sure that children stay connected to education. There needs to be economic development in these areas to make sure that there's investment and economical sort of there's monies coming into these areas, but none of that is being done. We're just going in there every time there's an incident, we speak about it, there's press releases, you see the national commissioner there, but there's no plan, there's no real plan. They're not even going into hospitals and finding, okay, these children that have survived, do they have any tattoos? Can we identify them via the POCA Act? And can we have an intervention at that level? Surely, if they've identified and if they've said these children are part of gangs, those that are in hospital should be absorbed into a diversion program.
So a subtle conversation that I've been hearing in the committee that in which you serve, Ms. James, the ad hoc committee that's probing these issues in the police, has been a subtle conversation about prioritizing gang activity, gang violence. And I think you made the point and juxtaposed against the political killings and the manner in which they were prioritized. Are we failing to do that, to prioritize this, despite the presence of the anti-gang unit and some of the reports that we're hearing, 176 suspects across 8 hotspots between June and September 2025, and those high-profile trials that are happening in the Western Cape currently? But do we still fall short of what we should be doing?
Definitely, we are falling short. I think I spoke to a couple of weeks ago. I handed the president a letter, outlining and saying these are the possible steps. You cannot have ordinary policing in of these areas where there's sort of these things that's playing out. You need to have a different approach. It hasn't been for now. I'm actually so tired of the situation because it's been for the past 30 years on the Cape Flats. We've been advocating for areas such as Eldorado Park and Westbury for the longest time, telling them the know-how, and it's just that there's blatant disconnect, there's no interest, there's no political will. But sitting in this ad hoc committee actually just more disheartens one when you actually see what is happening in SAPS. We are meant to be focusing on strategies and plans in these communities, but we can't do that because there's infighting in SAPS. SAPS is fighting SAPS.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. On that sobering note, let's leave it there. Darrelyn James is Action SA MP and also an anti-drug activist.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
I was going to let you go on, Zai, without saying anything, but then I was going to miss out on saying the name of the city, Rawalpindi.
It rolls off the tongue.
Tell me about the rumble in Rawalpindi.
It is a jungle, let me tell you. But we've got Spin Twins, our Spin Twins. They're turning on the screws in Rawalpindi. Simon Harmer already has 4 in the bag, and South Africa's lead is looking more and more commanding. Let's take you through to the latest from day 4 of the second test. Proteas are all over Pakistan. The hosts are 105 for 6 in their second innings, leading by just 34 runs. Simon Harmer has been devastating with the ball, already taking 5 wickets for just 29 runs in 16 overs, while Kagiso Rabada has chipped in with 1. South Africa's spinners are in command as Pakistan's tail tries to hang on. Let's go to soccer action. Banyana held to a 1-1 draw by the Democratic Republic of Congo in the first leg of their Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, playing away from home without coach Desiree Ellis and several overseas stars. South Africa still managed to grab a vital away goal. And it was a night of contrasting fortunes in the Betway Premiership. Orlando Pirates edged Polokwane City 1-0 at home. Stellenbosch and Golden Arrows served up a 7-goal thriller, with Stellies winning 4-3. While Kaizer Chiefs were held to a goalless draw against Swallows at the FNB Stadium. In the meantime, it was goals galore in the Champions League last night. Chelsea putting 5 past Ajax in a 5-1 victory at Stamford Bridge, while Liverpool, they thumped Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 away from home. Here's their boss, Onslaught.
The first chance we conceded was immediately a goal. In the end, it turned out to be the only chance we conceded today. Why was that? Because we went 3-1 up, so then it's easier to control the game than when you're 1-0 down. I've said here a few times telling you guys how important set pieces are, how important the balance in set pieces is. And now we were able to score 2, so you go with 3-1 up at halftime because you score 2 set pieces.
And Bayern Munich were just as ruthless, sweeping aside Club Brugge 4-0 in Germany. Real Madrid edging Juventus 1-0. It was a cagey affair at the Bernabeu, and Galatasaray beating Bodo Glimt 3-1. Sporting Lisbon also claimed 2-1 win over Marseille, while Athletic Bilbao were 3-1 victors over Karabakh. Elsewhere, Monaco and Tottenham, along with Atalanta and Slavia Prague, played out a goalless draw. And finally, tennis, Jannik Sinner cruising to victory over Daniel Altmaier in his first round match in Vienna. The world number 2 raced to a 6-love, 6-2 victory over German Altmaier, posting his quickest win of the year in just 58 minutes. Sinner will face fellow Italian Flavio Corbelli. We'll have more sport. Serving it up, top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, former Police Minister Bheki Cele will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee over the next 2 days. The committee was established following allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. Witness B has testified about the interference that her and Witness A encountered after cracking the Aman Swart murder case. A telephone recording between Witness B and the Sidibeng District Commissioner Brigadier Mbangwa Nkwashu was played at the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday. And California's Governor Gavin Newsom has said he will deploy the state's National Guard to help distribute food to those struggling because of the U.S. government's shutdown. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
This traffic report is brought to you by Auto and General Insurance. Auto and General, never not there. Auto and General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
At Auto & General, we understand your business is built on more than just vehicles. It's your stock, tools and equipment, and the premises where you work. Auto & General Business Insurance is designed for businesses like yours, protecting your assets against fire, theft, storms, and other unexpected events. To protect your livelihood, visit autogen.co.za and get an obligation-free business insurance quote. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple to avoid if you can. The N14 going into Pretoria. Very heavy queues today. Operations up by the R101 on-ramp. That's where the sort of old Joburg Road comes in and the N14 meets. So Ben Skibbon parked all the way back through to sort of Snake Valley Rear Road territory. It really is major. You've got the option of the R21. That's a route. The Botha Avenue onto Christina de Wet. That'll get you around it as well. Or the old Joburg Road. You could do that. Plenty of options. Stay off that N14 into central Pretoria this morning. N3 north from Eden Vale up to Beclue. The roadworks are still there. So is the heavy traffic. And a reminder, it stays busy all day. N12 coming through Pitfontein, but no need. On your way to Boxburg, crash before Atlas Road. Really badly backing things up there. Durban, no traffic lights on the Komashu Highway at both Duffs Road and the N2. Solid traffic coming out of Komashu this morning. That's due to cable theft, and the thief stole a lot of cable. Might be out for a while. In terms of repairs will be quite major there. So very heavy. Busy in the mornings, badly busy in the afternoons as well. M30 M13 coming out of Hillcrest to Kloof, a crash as you come into Kloof. The M13 parking back to Old Main Road, very heavy on that run through the Village Road. N2 North, 20 Hill, coming up from Munzum Toti's all jammed up on your way slowly to Prospect. And Cape Town, as we've been forecasting the closure of the M3 Philip Kosana Drive from Hospital Bend to the city centre, having a major impact on traffic flow through the Bend. The N2 backs from the airport, the M5 into that backs from Kenilworth. Motorists are facing sort of a moment of confusion where they're in the wrong lanes at Hospital Bend. Realise they can't take Philip Kosana, have to sort of merge across and get onto Nelson Mandela Boulevard. Philip Kosana is closed for the next 4 days. Baden-Powell still closed at Khayelitsha as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
That traffic report was brought to you by Auto and General Business Insurance. Auto and General, never not there. Auto and General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Business Update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Ndauling once again. Ndauling, good morning. Let's start with issues to do with inflation. We touched on it yesterday, and that whole conceptual move towards a target of 3% instead of that 3 to 6% band. Tell me what happened, though, in as far as inflation goes in September.
So consumer prices marginally ticking higher at 3.4% last month from 3.3% in August. This was broadly matching market expectations. Now, prices rose 0.2% on a month-on-month basis, with housing, utilities, and food costs offsetting continued fuel deflation. Now, housing and utilities climbed 4.5%, contributing 1.1 percentage points to the headline rate, while food and non-alcoholic beverages added 0.8 points, driven, of course, by an 11.7% jump in meat prices. This, of course, as we deal with the foot and mouth disease. Now, the rise in housing-related costs has also intensified challenges in the rental market. In an IOR article, the Landlords Association of South Africa warned that higher utility tariffs, food prices, and erratic municipal services are squeezing both landlords and tenants. Many renters are falling behind on payments, while persistent water and power disruptions are driving up maintenance costs and weakening rental returns, particularly in middle and lower income areas. Now, this is an issue Governor Lesetja Kganyago touched on at the last MPC meeting, highlighted that administered prices like higher electricity and utility costs are likely to continue to weigh on the headline rate. Now, economists see inflation remaining close to the SARB's preferred 3% target, but caution that price pressures, that is, could pick up modestly in coming months. FNB's Koketso Mano says she expects inflation to hover around 3.5%, while Stanlib's Kevin Lings predicts it could move above 4% over the next year. And this blurs the rate cut picture, especially as the SARB aims to anchor inflation at 3%. Some economists expect prices to settle around or below that mark comfortably next year, and so only expect the return of rate cuts in 2027.
The group is known as Famous Brands, but it would seem just from the performance, they're not only famous, but actually a lot of their brands are formidable. Tell me about the stronghold that they have in the local market and how that's translating to earnings.
So really steady growth when it comes to the SA market, Thulas, which resulted in a 6% rise in revenue and 8% jump in profit. Famous Brands' CEO, Darren Hill, said the group's core leading brands, including Steers, Wimpy, and Debonair's, continue to outperform as customer traffic recovered and new restaurant openings pushed the network beyond 3,000 stores. Now, South Africa remains the growth engine, supported by resilient consumer demand and an improved logistics platform. However, performance across the rest of Africa has softened, with markets like Botswana showing strain from weaker spending and rising costs. As a result, Famous Brands is prioritizing investment in South Africa and SADC, directing capital into technology and operational efficiencies rather than new regional expansion. Hill added that protecting franchisee margins remains crucial, particularly as premium dining faces slower demand. The group's strong domestic base and disciplined investment approach leave it well positioned to navigate ongoing global and consumer headwinds, and so it remains cautiously optimistic moving into the second half of its financial year.
Lastly, Dowling, just recap where we stand as far as markets are concerned.
Zooming in on activity in Asia, markets in the red. Just yesterday morning, Thulas, it looked like tensions between the US and China were easing, but overnight, reports showed that the White House is now planning to limit certain software-related exports to China in response to Beijing's new restrictions on rare earth exports. So those markets under pressure today. That of course, running up concerns of those trade tensions. Over in Wall Street, futures are mixed as traders digest earnings and await US inflation data that print out tomorrow. And then back at home, a pullback in gold prices weighing on local markets, with the JSE posting a flat finish, the all share slipping 0.06%. The rand also on the back foot at 17.44 to the greenback. Trading in the opposite direction though is oil, with Brent up 3%, trading at close to $65 per barrel following additional sanctions on Russian oil.
All right, thank you for that. And Dowling Lechala will come back with one more update for you just after 8:30 here on the Morning Brief.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and super savings. Like 1 litre Spar Long Life Milk 6-pack for only $89.99, plus 200 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or Spar 2-ply toilet rolls 18s for $99.99, plus 250 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Prices valid 21 October to 9 November 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to We Buy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy prams that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. We Buy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get friends.
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks. Exclusively on the Vodapay app. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
It's coming up to 18 minutes to 8. Let's turn to this conversation now about the disbandment. You've been hearing a lot of that word, disbandment, disestablishment, as far as law enforcement is concerned. But this time around, we are talking about the crime prevention wardens or traffic wardens in Gauteng, commonly known as Amapanyaza. The Premier making the announcement that they will be disestablished, but the people that have been recruited not lost because they will be retrained and function as traffic officers. It all comes against the backdrop, of course, of the public protector having recently found that there was no enabling provision of the law that enabled the application to have them designated as peace officers in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act, and therefore basically the whole process followed was unlawful according to the public protector. Let's hear from the Gauteng Provincial Government spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga, who joins me now to take that conversation forward. Elijah, good morning. Before we get into the reasons why it was disestablished, in the last few months there's been a great deal of confusion about what Amapanyaza are actually. Are they community crime prevention wardens with powers to effect arrest and the likes, or were they now simply traffic officials?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, from the start, when they were established, they were supposed to be crime wardens. That's why they were called crime wardens at the time. But that was revised following discussions with the Department of Justice as well as the Ministry of Police. And it was then revised to traffic wardens, which means they were going to be aligned to the functions related to traffic, but they were also supporting SAPS. That's why they were working from police stations, providing support in terms of crime fighting. But we continued to do the work of finding a location for them in terms of the law.
Yeah.
And we engaged various stakeholders until where we are today.
So tell me why they are being disestablished and what the plan is then.
Well, so following those discussions around their status, we reviewed the situation, and the Premier announced yesterday morning that we're going to migrate them to the Gauteng Traffic Police, because that's a police service that is under the control of the province. And we thought it's better to then migrate them to be fully fledged Gauteng traffic officers, which is not a new decision. It was something that we always said that we needed to have them under the fold of the Gauteng Traffic Police if we're not able to find other solutions. So that's what was announced yesterday morning. And then later in the evening, we then received a report from the Public Protector, which in part confirms the decision that we needed to take them for training. So we are fully aligned with the Public Protector.
Are you saying that your decision, the Premier's decision, was not informed by the Public Protector's report, but it just coincidentally followed a couple of hours later?
Absolutely. We announced to South Africans on Monday morning.
I find that hard to believe, though, Elijah.
Let me tell you, we received, we released a media advisory on Monday that we're going to announce on Wednesday the repositioning of the wardens. And we hosted the media briefing at exactly 10 o'clock yesterday, which was live. We received an email from the Public Protector yesterday evening at about 7 o'clock with this report. So the sequence of events is as such. Whether you believe it or not, those are the facts. So we had been working. Remember, even 2 weeks ago or so, we engaged with the Minister of Justice. We had been engaging with the SAPS as well. So it's work that has been ongoing.
Without splitting hairs about this, Elijah, because, in the bigger scheme of things, it's perhaps a side point. But it is a fact that you would have received a preliminary report from the Public Protector, which would have given you a glimpse into the kind of thinking that is going on in the mind of the Public Protector, and therefore would have also informed your thinking as well.
Remember, the issue of the status of the wardens does not only depend on one authority. It's part of the entire security cluster. So we're engaging with various stakeholders. In fact, even as we speak right now, there is a process that the Minister of Justice is currently seized with regarding this matter. We were considering all factors that were needed to be considered when a decision needed to be made regarding this matter. So I'm saying the Public Protector contacted us, requested information. We knew they were working on this matter, but we were also working on the other side. So as the sequence of events unfolded yesterday, we went first, we announced the decision to migrate them, also informed by the engagements that we held with agencies such as the Border Management Agency, who said we need a cohort that will come and train as immigration officers. We also received a letter from the City of Johannesburg requesting them to be deployed as bylaw enforcement officers. We also received another request from Ekurhuleni, also requesting them to be deployed there, which then made us realize that the training that they need is urgent, and we then made that determination. But we also received another request for them to work in courts, to guard courts. So there's a need, there's value that other authorities are appreciating regarding this matter. So that's what informed our decision.
Are you willing to concede, though, Elijah, that this was an ill-conceived program, in the sense that you didn't think it through in terms of the legalities, the areas of authority as demarcated by the Constitution, the finding that the department's conduct was inconsistent with the Section 41, subsection 4, paragraph F and G of the Constitution made by the public protector, talks to a scheme that you did not really pour through in as far as its legality, constitutional standing. Now you are needing to find almost like, quote unquote, a home for them after you've done the recruitment.
The home was always available, and that is the Gauteng Traffic Police, who are the people that are under the control of the province. That's why we brought them here. So
no, that was the subsequent home, Elijah. The home was originally for them to fight crime. Then when that didn't work out, they moved over to traffic. That is not working out so well, and you're now needing to retrain, and you're talking about border management, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni. This speaks of a group that was recruited that you're now having to find placements for.
No, Thulasizwe, let me tell you that the Gauteng Traffic Police, they also fight crime. In fact, we have reports where they are getting drugs, arrest people and stuff like that. So that is the home of the wardens, where the work is going to be. That's why I'm saying that option was always there. So if you say they did not have a home, then you mean that the Gauteng Traffic Police have no authority, which is not true. So they are established in terms of the law, and our crime wardens are going to be housed under that home, which was always available.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning. That's Elijah Mhlanga, spokesperson of the Gauteng Provincial Government.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
This economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get friends.
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks exclusively on the VodaPay app. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
South Africa, it's time to crown our next queen. The Miss South Africa 2025 grand finale is here. A night of beauty, power and purpose. Join Nomalanga Shozi as she hosts the most dazzling celebration of South African womanhood. Live from the stage where dreams turn into destiny. Don't miss Miss South Africa 2025, Saturday on the 25th of October at 7 p.m. only on S3. Who will wear the crown? Find out live on S3. Open up.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy traffic going into Pretoria this morning on the N14, the Ben Schoeman Highway. Best to avoid that off-ramp at Jean Avenue or the Vrede Road and look for alternative routes. If you get north of that, once you get into sort of EU fees and up towards city centre, it really is a monster delay. If you're on the N1, you normally get up the N14. You've got options like Buerta Avenue or the R21, and a reroute through Fountain Circle will work out quite nicely at this stage. Protesting has erupted this morning out in Soweto. It's the very busy junction of Chris Hani and Klipsveld Valley, so that's section of roadway currently closed off with some diversion pressure on local routes. Crash on the N12 this morning between Benoni and Boksburg. Big delays coming in from Pitfontein side, the N12 towards that crash before Atlas Road badly backed up. Durban side, the M13. This is coming from Hillcrest in towards Kloof. A crash earlier this morning by Village Road in the central Kloof area, causing a big delay. M13 traffic all the way back through to Old Main Road. The N2 at Tweedy Hill leaving Toti is quite heavily backed up and congested. Traffic light issues all over the Phoenix Highway this morning, causing delays around Phoenix, and 2 sets of lights out due to cable theft on Komashu Highway, the big one at Duffs Road and the even bigger one at the N2. It's very heavy this morning. It will be badly backed up again this afternoon as well. Cape Town Baden-Powell Drive closed again at Khayelitsha. A lot of traffic congestion on alternative routes like Spine Road and Jeff K. Masamola, Muway to and from the N2, Govan and Becky into Muway, Old Fora Road, N2 outbound, trying to get off at Muway. Even motorists going as far as the R300 option off the N2 down towards Stock Road at Mitchell's Plain. That's all heavy. And a reminder of the 4-day closure, which is in place. This is massive. Philip Kosana closed Hospital Bend to City Centre both ways for the next 4 days. Only opening on the inbound side about 5 a.m. Monday. N2 inbound, M3, M5, all heavy, trying to route through Hospital Bend this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes to 8. So you'll remember yesterday we had a conversation with Bongani Ramonja, who is leader of the Soil of Africa Civic Movement. And we were talking about this expenditure by the city of Tshwane of 777 million rand on water tankers in just 1 year, which we said was 457 million rand over budget and nearly 672 million rand more than the previous years. Well, what we're going to do now is to give a right of reply to the city of Tshwane, who are under mounting scrutiny over that expenditure that we were talking about, and they're under the leadership of Mayor Nasipi Moya's multi-party coalition government. The unprecedented rise in spending has triggered public outrage, opposition criticism, and calls for immediate transparency and accountability. Let's see if we can get that then this morning. I'm joined by Aaron Maluleka, who is Tshwane's MMC for Human Settlements. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time this morning, MMC. Firstly, before we get to what you take issue with, confirm these figures: 777 million rand spent on water tankers in the past year.
Good morning to you, Thulasizwe, and good morning to the listeners. This morning, I think you are aware that the executive mayor will lead her executive in giving an account to the residents of Tshwane around the issue that was raised by News 24 on the 777 million spent. Therefore, there's going to be a breakdown with regard to each cent that was spent and how it was accumulated to this point. Therefore, I don't want to take not necessarily shine, but take away from the executive mayor to give that account. But just briefly, we are going to report later on the what we call bulk waters provision, because there's a distinction. In the Department of Human Settlement, we provide rudimentary services to informal settlements. But the Department of Water and Sanitation provides bulk provision on emergency tankers.
I will let you get to that point, but I don't think confirming the figure of 777 million rand takes away from the messaging of the mayor and the executive team later on. As you say, at that briefing, you'll be giving a breakdown. But the citizens of Tshwane, residents of Tshwane, have an interest to know, is this figure true or not, or can we safely ignore it and say fake news, and you will clarify later?
There's a difference of over 108 million rands that is going to be explained by the mayor. Therefore, the 777 million is incorrect.
Okay.
Then she will explain how we got to that number.
All right.
And I think we should leave it there for later. But what is important is that our communities don't want water tankers, Thulasizwe. Every public meeting where we went, people don't want water tankers because of it takes dignity away from them. It's an opportunity for profits by those that are providing water, because they are not necessarily giving us water. They're transporting our water. They are taking from our sources, and they're delivering this water. Therefore, the amount, any amount that you would find, is exorbitant. That money should be invested in infrastructure. And there's been disinvestment for over a passage of years. 21 of our reservoirs currently are not working. Some are vandalized because of there are no perimeter fence, there's no security. There was a withdrawal of security in many of our infrastructure. Therefore, it's a myriad of issues that contributes to day-to-day struggle of water. But you can't justify any amount that gets to millions and millions of rand to provide water that we are producing and buying from Red Water.
So it's a powerful acknowledgement and concession by you that the people want water, not water tankers, and opportunities for enrichment for some who are not necessarily providing quote-unquote water, but actually trucking water around your water that you that is drawn from your sources. Powerful acknowledgement. But whatever the figure is, with the difference that you say will be explained a bit later on, you still went ahead with that acknowledgement and the knowledge and that sense that you have about the wrongness of this whole scheme. You still went ahead, even if it's less by 100-odd million rand. You still spent hundreds of millions of rand on water tankers, the very same water tankers that you're saying are not what the people want.
You are drawing me into what I'm trying to avoid, but let's get to it. There was a plant maintenance by rainwater for over a period of a month plus a week. Therefore, for many areas like Region 1 of Soshanguve, where you have a population of over 300,000, you needed to supply them with water. We continue to supply people of Region 2 in Hammanskraal with water. Therefore, if you combine the two, you still have a big challenge of demand. But what I'm trying to explain is that if there's no SOP of how you distribute your trucks, if there's no accountability of each truck that gets out of our reservoir to supply water, you'll have these challenges. That you'll have millions of rents, spiking high because of there's no due diligence. And we are saying to the accounting officer that he needs to take the public through of what happened in terms of the spending, because it should be avoided. It would be reckless and remiss of us not to admit that we can't spend in that manner.
Where were you when there was no SOP for how you spend on this and how you truck water and the likes? You are not an activist, MMC. I'm sorry, you are not an outsider and activist. You are in the administration.
Yeah, I agree. But if you have a fuels of 200 million, Thulasizwe, that is added to the amount that is in the public space. It's something that comes and dates from, precedes our installation in office. We should then deal with those issues, break them down, so that at the end of the day, there should be forensic investigation on how we got to where we are. You can't, as an accounting officer, allow upliftment of funds when we've budgeted about 300 million for spending around this activity. Therefore, if you uplift funds without authority of executive, that needs to be looked at. How did we get to this point? Therefore, we are going to give that account later today and say it should not be in our time, and it should have been avoided when others were in office.
So as far as you are concerned, the accountability buck should stop with the city manager, from what you're saying, talking about the accounting officer. I understand that to be the city manager.
Yes, I'm saying certain decisions are limited to him. Yeah. There can't be interference from whether you are an MC, whether you are an executive mayor. He must then explain how we then take such decisions, because all of us we are accountable to citizens. Every cent that we collect, it must be used, with due care. And prudence should be something that is prioritized in terms of spending public funds.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That is the MMC there in the city of Tshwane. MMC for Human Settlements, Aaron Maluleka, weighing in on that. And of course, as the MMC has been saying, there will be a briefing later on that will talk to all of these issues at greater length. Let's go to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Bheki Cele to appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee and suspect in Bronkhorstspruit Tavern shooting to appear in court. Good morning. Former Police Minister Bheki Cele will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee over the next 2 days. The committee was established following allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system that were made by the KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Cele, who was the police minister between February 2018 to June of last year, would have overseen the operations of the political killings task team during his tenure. The same task team, Minister Senzo Mchunu, who has been placed on special leave, decided to disband. Yesterday, Mchunu told ANC MP Kusela Diko that his predecessor did not give him any handover notes involving the PKTT.
Not as I read it. What was there, though, was a reference to committees in which the minister was serving, not necessarily the National Political Killings Task Team per se in any form.
Did he maybe give any reason at any point why he did not shut down the unit himself?
Not really. We didn't delve into that matter.
Witness B has testified about the interference that her and Witness A encountered after cracking the Aman Swart murder case. A telephone recording between Witness B and the Siribeng District Commissioner, Brigadier Mbangwa Nkwashu, was played at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry yesterday. In the recording, Nkwashu can be heard speaking to witness B about how he's been instructed to get the dockets for the Ahmed Swart case.
Instruction from the PC, and to collect all those dockets, including that docket of yours, and go give it to him. And the instruction were given to us as district commissioners. And if we are not handing in those dockets to him, we're going to be facing the disciplinary steps.
The EFF in Gauteng has rejected the proposed 36-month phase-out of the crime prevention wardens. This follows Premier Panyaza Lesufi's decision to disband the wardens program. Lesufi says the wardens will undergo phase training to be designated the same legal standing as Gauteng Traffic Police. The party says the establishment of the unit was a reckless, illegal and politically motivated experiment that collapsed under corruption and incompetence. EFF Gauteng spokesperson Thulasizwe Simelane says the project should never have existed.
There is no justification for continuing to waste public resources on a failed project that was never meant to exist in the first place. This unit must be dissolved immediately, not over 3 years, and every cent looted under its name must be accounted for. From the beginning, the EFF has been the lone and consistent voice exposing the illegitimacy of this structure.
A suspect arrested in connection with the Zitobeni Tavern shooting incident in Bronkhorstspruit earlier this month is expected to appear in the local magistrates' court today. The suspect was arrested on Tuesday. It's alleged that two men entered the tavern and demanded one of the patrons hand over his firearm. A shot was fired, and as patrons fled, the suspects opened fire randomly, killing 5 people and wounding 6 others. The City of Cape Town's traffic service has cautioned motorists to seek alternative routes due to the protest action on the Baden-Powell Drive near the N2 highway this morning. The city's spokesperson, Kevin Jacobs, says the road is currently closed.
Cape Town traffic services are attending to incidents of protest action this morning. Baden-Powell Drive is closed between Jafta K. Masimola Drive and the N2. Motorists are advised to seek alternative routes.
And finally, California's Governor Gavin Newsom has announced he will deploy the state's National Guard to help distribute food to those struggling because of the U.S. government shutdown. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers have not received their wages after the stoppage, which was caused by Democrats and Republicans failing to agree over the national budget. Newsom says he was fast-tracking $80 million worth of state support to help those in need. Recapping the top story, former Police Minister Bheki Cele will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee over the next 2 days. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
65-year-old Helena doesn't play around when it comes to her budget. That's why she's thrilled to be with Outsurance, paying only 398 Rand a month for her 2025 Hyundai Exter. And 50-year-old Priya knew she couldn't let the deal pass her by, paying just 1,178 Rand a month for her 2024 Haval H6 4x4. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754 today. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Rawalpindi is where the Protea spinners, continuing to dominate on day 4 of the second test. Pakistan are reeling at 138 for 9 in their second innings, leading by just 67 runs. We'll bring you more just before 8:30.
SAFM. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still very heavy on your way to Pretoria using the M14, the Ben Schoeman Highway. If that's your run in, try and avoid it off the N1, you can take Buerta Avenue or you can take the R21 route up via Fountain Circle. Just avoid that N14. Once you get north of Jean Avenue, you really run out of options and you will be stuck there for a while. Protesting around Soweto, closing a section of Chris Hani and Klipsrate Valley Road earlier this morning. There is some pressure just sort of looping around that Mfolo South area, if you like, as motorists deal with the closures associated with that. Durban's M13 coming from Hillcrest into Kloof stays heavy after a crash much earlier this morning, right in the central Kloof area. Very heavy from Hillcrest, passing that crash at Village Road, then down Fields Hill. Really big traffic in that area this morning. Lights are out all over the Phoenix Highway, particularly out towards Trade Centre. It's heavy. The Kumashu Highway, 2 sets of lights down Dust Road and the N2. That's a real busy one this morning. And the N2 coming out of Amonzamtoti up to Prospector, still very slow. Tweedy Hill area. Cape Town, the closure of the M3 between Hospital Bend and the Rowland Street exit, so really Hospital Bend to City Centre. That Philip Costano closed both ways until Monday. It's a 4-day closure, causing mayhem. The N2 inbound from the airport, the M5 from Kenilworth, the M3 from Newlands, all of those highways trying to come in a route through Hospital Bend really badly backed up. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through that. And heavy pressure generally around the Khayelitsha area following the closure again of Baden-Powell Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. Let me quickly run through some of the messages you've been sending, right, so that we have a nice balance and a mix of this conversation. Mtunzi says on the WhatsApp line, so Thulas, can I effect a citizen's arrest on Amapanyaza if I spot them stopping and searching people? That is the question from Mtunzi. He wants to effect a citizen's arrest on Amapanyaza if he sees them stopping and searching people. This action by the Premier indirectly makes the public not to have full confidence in law enforcers. That is the view there of Mtunzi. And then someone else here, it's Tsepo Koska... Skachaping. Where is that, Tsepo? Tsepo says, Thulas, you are correct that the Premier's project was ill-conceived. General Mkwanazi said it. The Gauteng province antagonized even from the mouth of the Premier. Less than a week later, then an about turn. Can we at least be an honest society? Where we have erred, we admit and apologize. And then he ends it off with, finish and clear. Says Tsepo in Skachaping. Does anyone know where that is, Mpo? Do you know? All right, he doesn't. Let me read this one. Someone here says, it's Nat in Krugersdorp, who says, I think now we all understand why we have bad service delivery across the country. According to ANC minister, immediately doesn't mean right now. Immediately doesn't mean right now. So when they say... So when they say we'll fix the road, water and electricity problem immediately, they mean in the next lifetime or next 20 years, says Nat in Krugersdorp. I'm not laughing. As I always say, it's incredulity. It's just disbelief, some of the things that happen in this country. And then Jen in Cape Town wants to reflect on the 777 million rand expenditure on water tankers in Tshwane and says, could they not have built a whole new water plant for nearly R1 billion, asks Jen in Cape Town. And on it goes, so do keep them coming. The number to dial 086 000 2032, or you can send me similar messages, WhatsApp voice notes. I'll be happy to play those on air. 0614 104 107. The third hour of the Thursday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Amakhosi want to display a winning performance in front of their home fans. Meanwhile, the big boys from Kolwezi target away goals to return to DRC with happy hearts. This is the second leg of the second preliminary round of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness Kaizer Chiefs versus AS Simba this Sunday, 26 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC2. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with the calls. Let me go straight to Mpho. Mpho, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas, and thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
On a lighter note, Skagapeng is in Limpopo.
Skagapeng. Skagapeng.
Skagapeng.
Oh, I see.
It's being pronounced.
Yeah.
That's where he hails from.
Sure.
Thulas, this morning, it saddened me to come on this platform to say what I'm going to say. There are two things that I want South Africans to know about the corruption that is happening in the Northern Cape, particularly the Department of Rural Development, Land Reform and Agriculture.
Okay.
There's a court judgment from the Northern Cape High Court that the department has failed to overturn, that they are liable for a cost of investigation that uncovered corrupt activities in the Farm Equity Scheme. In 2005, the then MEC Joe Tinamat Peterson participated in the Farm Equity Scheme where 22 farmers received grant from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. To give you an example, in one farm, a farmer was being allocated 800,000 as a share. That was for their equity to participate in the ownership of the farm. And 2 years later, that 800,000 was bought back by the farmer for a mere 20,000.
Sure.
I have released the forensic investigation with the findings and the recommendations that the share equity scheme that was bought by government for those poor farm workers must be reinstated. Today, MEC Mase Manopole is blocking my payment in order to ensure that those recommendations and the court order of the High Court, which she does not have a relief from the SCA to overturn or to not implement. We're sitting here today. There's a forensic report with well about 766 pages with all attachments, proof. The department refused.
Let's do this. Let's do this. It sounds like an issue we should get into and delve into quite deeply. Don't go anywhere. Please, if you don't mind, Mpho, share some of those documents with the team. Just send on the same number. Just send and I'll go through them when I get a moment, just for me to get a fuller picture and just grapple with the story that Mpho is talking about out of the Northern Cape there. It sounds like one with many tentacles that are entrenched over a long period of time. It certainly sounds prima facie. Let me use that expression. Prima facie. It sounds like there's something to follow through there. Miles, good morning. Miles, you are on the air. What's going on, brother?
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Watch yourself, Miles. You know the things you will say on air one of these days. Yes, what's happening?
No, it's a long time coming, my bro. Listen, I'm extending a very friendly academic and intellectual invite to the Premier of Gauteng, Honorable Sufi, to meet me at his time, his convenient time and venue and date, so that we can discuss the conversion of the crime prevention wardens, traffic wardens, to service delivery wardens. In other words, we will have the service delivery wardens in each and every street, each and every extension, each and every zone and hostel, where they will go in there doing an audit without interfering with the privacy of individual South African citizens. We are mindful of the POPI Act to say in this house, we leave a questionnaire and collect it within 2-3 weeks. Who stays there? Who works there? Who's unemployed there? How many children are there? Who get grants there? And you use that audit for a variety of things, because you will have to know in that particular township how many of the kids are in the street, how many of the people are unemployed. We can discuss that in a roundtable meeting, because The Mapanyaza thing was also my idea that was taken somewhere by the Premier.
All right,
I'd
Miles.
like to meet him. I hope he's listening.
Miles, thank you for that. Miles there with a suggestion of a new home for Amapanyaza, the Gauteng traffic wardens, and what role they can play in society now that they've been recruited. Lawrence in Cape Town, good morning.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you, my brother?
Very well, how are you? Please go ahead.
I want to talk about the money paid for Jacob Zuma
Yes.
during his court proceedings. I feel like it's unfair for Jacob Zuma to pay back this money. Why am I saying that? Because the time that he was in the court, he was still under ANC banner, under ANC logo. So now he's no longer in ANC. Why must he pay? Yet he was fighting for ANC. I know they say he did this on his own, but it was under ANC. So I feel like it's unfair. Two, the second issue also that I'm seeing, it seems like it's a way also to distract us from this this issue that has been raised by General Mkwananzi, because in the long run, there's going to be some big guns implicated.
Yeah.
Then this thing will be also running parallel. You know, Jacob Zuma has the mafia. There will be big protests that will distract us from this real issue. We'll be focusing on Jacob Zuma's people demonstrating, banning things, and so forth and so forth. So
Lawrence.
this is what I think about this. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Lawrence. Let me hear if Mike in Garankuwa shares your view. Mike, good morning.
I want to voice my displeasure of about the guy who's receiving the calls on your behalf yesterday. It was 8:20 when I phoned the guy, and he said he will come back to me. He never come back. He said, I will come back to you just after 8:30 headline.
Mike, let me just extend an apology not only to you but to everyone else involved.
Let me finish my story.
We're going to run out of time. That's my worry, Mike.
Let me finish my story too. And then at 9:09, I phoned the lady who's receiving the calls on behalf of KZ. He did the same. He did the same like the guy who's receiving the calls on his behalf. So I want to put this to the station manager so that I can register my complaint about these two people, the way they treated me yesterday. I phoned 15 times between 20 to 9 and 8 o'clock until you left the program with that guy. He never came back to me, and my phone keep on ringing. He never pick up the phone. I'm very much angry about the attitude of these guys.
Mike, can I say, you do know that it's a courtesy for us to call you back, right?
No, I know it's a courtesy, but if the guy
and then secondly, Mike, you do know that the volume of calls that we get and the number of people we're needing to call back, because we understand, we want you to be a part of the conversation. So therefore, if we can save you the cost and we can save you the period of holding, we will. But you must understand and appreciate, Mike, that in an operation... Wait, Mike, let me finish my point. You must understand that in an operation like that, there will always be situations where someone is not called back on the day. There are many... You're not the only one. There are many people who say, you said you'd call me back and you didn't, but they take it with that understanding that says, I understand it was very busy.
But now, Thulas, from the onset, why the guy could not say to me, look, I can accommodate you the following day, not today. But
because the intention was to call you back, Mike, but you were one of many people to be called back.
Listen, let me reiterate what I said. He said just after 8:30 headline. Look what he said. And I keep on phoning. He never pick up the phone. And the same thing was done by the lady who received the call on.
Now, Mike, let me come back to why perhaps you may have felt I wanted to censor you, but I didn't. The point about it is that you and I have spent the last 2 minutes talking about this issue, and now I need to move on, and I cannot now hear the point you wanted to make.
That's why I wanted
Do you now
the station
understand?
manager to phone me so that I can register my grievance. I want the station manager to phone me.
That's okay. All right, Mike, thank you for that. That's Mike out in Garankuwa. So hopefully the station management here at SAFM can give Mike a call. Team, make sure that they get the number so that they are able to call him back. That was Mike in Garankuwa.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
All right, let me continue now. So someone is Yes, a few people telling me about where Schaaping is. They're saying it's in Waterberg district in Limpopo. So it might, I hope, Tim, we can organize a live broadcast from Schaaping for me to make it up to the people of Schaaping for not knowing where it is in the country. So hopefully something can be worked together. Let's talk politics and governance. Strident criticism of the Ramaphosa administration coming in the form of an opinion piece penned by Fapano Pasha in Independent Online recently. In it, Fapano argues that the dismissal of Lumka Oliphant, former Chief Director of Communication in the Department of Social Development, is not merely an HR decision. She says it is a damning indictment of the moral decay within South Africa's political leadership. And going on to say that under the President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration, a pattern is emerging: protect the corrupt, punish the honest, and silence the brave. Let's speak to Fapano Pasha, the chairperson of the Center for Alternative Political and Economic Thought. Good morning to you, Fapano, and thank you for your time. Run through very quickly for me, as succinctly as you can, because the piece is quite, detailed and well argued. But run through it very quickly. What's the central argument that you are making about the dismissal of Lumka Oliphant?
Thank you so much, and thank you. Good morning to your listeners. I think if you go through the article is not necessarily only isolated to Lumka Oliphant. And perhaps just to quickly give a background on why we raised that issue, it's primarily because of the issues that have been consistently neglected, that is the defunding of NGOs. As a result of sheer corruption, I can tell you now, if you look at various media houses, Daily Maverick, consistently has been raising issues of NGOs which have been defunded, but not only by the Department of SASSA. There is the Department of Social Development. There's a crisis, a serious crisis in the Department of Social Development. There's also a crisis at the Lottery Commission. And those issues, they're either ignored, but I think fundamentally what we were saying is that there's an illusion of isolated incidences since President Ramaphosa took over. And seemingly, to some of us, it seems as if the pressure, there is not enough pressure, or there is not, enough societal and institutional pressure to want to make this administration to account. In the article, of course, yes, we touch on Minister Sisisi. We also go further than that. Yep. We are saying just before the SIU released its report on Tembisa Hospital, the day after, the Minister of Finance, Minister Godongwane, indicated he released a statement telling the nation that he has appointed David Makura as the chairperson of DBSA. Now, for many, it was just a normal statement. For some, they ignored it. But the reality is that it was David Makura under his administration, where this Tembisa, when we speak about the Tembisa Hospital, a grand scale looting, it was under his tenure that it happened. It was under his tenure that the PPE, COVID corruption happened. It was under his tenure as well that you had life epidemic and you had other incidences. But we overlook some of these issues. But we also speak to Senzo Mchunu. The very fact that he was merely he was not even relieved of his duties, but he was given the opportunity to even go to a commission. So we are saying that we do not have isolated incidences under the presidency of Ramaphosa. You've got Kusala Diko, who is sitting in this ad hoc committee questioning General Mkhwanazi. Of course, General Mkhwanazi, it doesn't necessarily mean that what he has said is the absolute truth. It must still, Parliament or whatever committee must also ensure that others have a right of reply. But you have the likes of Kusala Diko, who was one of the beneficiaries during David Makura's tenure, and she is there questioning General Mkonazi, and there's no outcry. So we are merely saying that, there is not much pressure under the administration or to call the presidency of Ramaphosa to account, either from the media, either from civil society movements.
All
So
right.
I think that's where we were coming from.
All right, Fapano, thank you. I'm completely out of time, but the article is available. You can engage with it. It is on Independent Online. Fapano Pasha is the chairperson of the Center for Alternative Political and Economic Thought.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Now you're just trolling me. Now you're just trolling me and
Why?
wanting me to say Rawalpindi just for the sake of saying, come on, Zai, you're better than that. Now you just want me, okay, I said it, Rawalpindi, Zai,
Okay,
yes.
fine. So no rumble. Who's on the ropes? It's Pakistan. That's the Proteas are landing knockout blows, let me tell you. But we are talking cricket. It's live action that's underway, and let me tell you, there's a lot with regards to this team and the Proteas. They need just under a couple of runs to win, and that's it went from 63 to 59 very quickly. Well, from 59, we're actually needing 58 runs to win. We're taking on Pakistan. This is the second test, and it's day 4. Some exciting things, as always, happening when it comes to the Proteas. Seeing them in action, they're cruising to victory in this second test. They bowled out the hosts for just 138 in their second innings. And we were set a modest target of 68. So great to see that the Proteas are in the driver's seat. More cricket. England lost their first match of the Women's World Cup. They suffered a 6-wicket defeat by the defending champions Australia. Australia suffered a top order wobble, falling to 24 for 3 and then 68 for 4, only for a flawless partnership of 180 between Annabelle Sutherland and Ash Gardner to lead them to victory with 9.3 overs to spare. Soccer now, and the AmaZulu president, Sandile Zungu, has raised serious concerns about the lack of sponsorships for black-owned clubs in the Premier Soccer League. He says while football remains South Africa's most commercially viable sport, support from both the private sector and the government still leans heavily towards rugby, cricket and the so-called Big Three in football. Zungu insists clubs like AmaZulu have the right professional structures in place.
In part, apartheid legacy cannot be ignored. Anything that is patronized by black people assumes a second-class stature in the eyes of some decision makers. You need to work very hard to persuade them to throw money behind things loved by black people. Contrast that with some of our sporting codes, which are by and large white sporting codes. They get much better support, even when the commercial value is less convincing.
And finally, tennis. Daniel Medvedev booking his place in the second round of the ATP 500 Erste Bank Open in Vienna. And that's your sport. John Gericke will rally back to serve it up around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, witness B testified at the Madlanga Commission that alleged criminal cartel member Katiso K. Timulife's nephew, Lucky, ordered the hit on engineer Armin Swart. Swart was gunned down in April last year outside his work premises, Q-Tech in Vereniging in Gauteng. Former Police Minister Bheki Cele will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee for the next 2 days. The committee was established following allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. And President Cyril Ramaphosa will today meet with the Vietnamese Prime Minister on a state visit. Vietnam is expanding its consumer market, which presents promising opportunities for South African exporters. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM. guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just a reminder, the N14 going to Pretoria is a very heavy backlog this morning. If you normally come off the N1 onto the N14, through Brockfontein onto Ben Schoeman and trundle up into Pretoria this morning, it will amaze you just how significant that backlog is going into Pretoria. So avoid that from Brockfontein Interchange, take Borta Avenue or the R21. Get your sights on Fountain Circle as a reroute around that one. Joburg's N3 from Alex going up into Buccleuch stays heavy into the roadworks. Mike 1 this morning from Woodmead down into towards Corlett Drive, very slow, and a lot of pressure coming into Sandton, particularly William Mandela and Republic into that Hurlingham side of Sandton. So big traffic out that way. Durban's N2 North coming up from Amanzam 20 Hill area still very busy. The M13 through Kloof onto Fields Hill into Pinetown, that stays quite heavily backed up as well. And Cape Town having a really busy run through the traffic this morning. The N2 inbound sits from literally the airport all the way through to Hospital Bend. It's the first morning that motorists are sort of familiarising themselves with the closure of the M3. Philip Kasana from the Ben closed going in and out of Cape Town. That's going to be heavily disruptive, both sides, both Hospital Bend and the city centre side of that. And there's a lot of congestion routes like the M5 and Lisbeth Parkway and Klipfontein Road and the Unsmuts as motorists jam up alternatives. And the Baden-Powell drive closure at Khayelitsha is still with us, and that is causing very heavy backlogs through Khayelitsha, Mfuleni and routes through Mitchell's Plain as motorists divert off that Baden-Powell closure. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's turn to Ndauling Lechela once again. Ndauling, take me to the intersection of retail and healthcare. Tell me what SPAR is saying about expanding its exposure into the healthcare market.
So the retailer is stepping further into the healthcare arena with the purchase of Aptacor Group, a pharmaceutical wholesaler based in the Western Cape. The deal marks the retailer's most decisive move yet to expand beyond traditional retail, layering the groundwork for a national health and pharmacy network under its Pharmacy at SPAR banner. SPAR's pharmacy arm has grown rapidly, now counting 125 locations nationwide, with ambitions to reach 250 within 3 years. The Aptacor purchase represents the first step in SPAR's wholesale expansion strategy, with a second transaction in KZN already said to be at an advanced stage. Now, in that space, SPAR will take on the likes of Clicks, that remains the dominant pharmacy chain in the country, Dis-Chem, which continues to lean into wellness and digital innovation, as well as ShopRite, which is proving to be an emerging player there as it continues to expand its MediRite network.
So I was doing well when Ndauling. Earlier on, I told you that I know who Fenty Beauty is, you know?
Yeah.
Now, there was the LVMH, transaction. Now this one with H&M, Yaga. I don't know who Yaga is, and that's simply because, I don't know, there's no Riri there. There's no Rihanna there involved in the mix.
So, okay, let me tell you about Yaga then.
Yes.
So Yaga is an online marketplace. It's basically a hub for second-hand fashion, mostly in emerging markets, right? We've seen a number of, some of the country's favorite influencers sell some of the clothing items they don't want anymore on that platform. And they're the ones that are actually making it popular. Interestingly, it's a European platform, with SA being its biggest market, and it's recently secured 80 million rand in funding led by H&M Group Ventures, the investment arm of the Swedish fashion giant. And the investment marks a strong vote of confidence in Yaga's rise as a hub for second-hand fashion in emerging markets, particularly here at home, where analysts say demand for affordable and sustainable clothing is accelerating. Now, Yaga says the new capital will go toward expanding its local operations, improving logistics and delivery networks, and enhancing the platform's payment and trust systems, key features that have helped it stand out in South Africa's growing resale market. The company also plans to strengthen its position in the country before expanding further into the Middle East and North Africa.
All right, lastly, Ndauling, wrap it all nicely for us. Everything you've said this morning and what kind of a tone it sets for trading in the markets today.
So the JSE likely to continue its losing streak on the back of some profit taking as the gold rally hits pause. In terms of company news, traders will wake up to numbers from Clicks and Afrimat. And then over in currencies, the rand making slight gains this hour at 17.41 to the dollar from about 17.44 earlier this morning. Also making gains is oil following sanctions on Russian crude. Oil is currently trading close to $65 per barrel. Back to equities, earnings and economic data in focus in the US. And with that in play, futures are mixed. And then lastly, in Asia, trade in negative territory as investors keep a close eye on relations between China and the US.
Always right on the money. Dowling Lichela, thank you for those updates throughout the morning here on the Morning Brief.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
22 minutes to 9. Let's return to the story around bullying in schools. Of course, it's under the spotlight following that video that has gone viral and that incident that happened at Milnerton High in the Western Cape. Bullying in schools, we're told, is on the rise, turning what should be safe learning spaces into environments of fear and anxiety for many children. To tackle this growing issue, we're told that it is important to unpack why children bully others, what kind of emotional toll it takes on victims, and how schools often become breeding grounds for silence and suffering. Let's speak to Professor Saths Cooper, who is former president of the Psychological Society of South Africa. Prof, good morning. Thank you for your time. Let me start with a question that I suppose you and I have really, dissected from multiple angles many a times, but it continues to vex us. Why do children bully each other? When I saw that video, the big question was, why?
Well, because society has allowed it to happen. And we need to look at two important events that have taken place. One is the COVID pandemic, where there was a lockdown, literally, for most of the world. And secondly, and linked to that, is the rise of online engagement. These two provide a major turning point for how we behave, because literally our behaviors get shaped by online interaction or what we see happening online. And parents and teachers need to be much more proactive in this online engagement that children are exposed to. Number one, it's dangerous. These are microwave receivers. And for young, growing minds and brains and bodies, the serious effect is untold. And our regulators ignore this, including the main ones we tend to follow, like the EU, because some 20 years ago or more, there were warnings and prohibitions on children having access to cell phones. But that has been overtaken by these tech giants buying off these companies, the smaller ones that had these devices on them to block microwave engagement. Now, the other is the pandemic of online engagement, where you have all sorts of persons who put out stuff online. In fact, your lead up to this shows that kind of incident. It catches on, and people don't look at filtering this and saying there's something wrong with it. But then again, against the backdrop of very little morality that's prevalent in our society, Thulasizwe.
Yeah.
You can understand if leadership is weak at the knees, then the rest of us are not going to be as alert to wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So we can look at all sorts of things. People are going to say our laws provide for this, etc. The enforcement is not there. There should be preclusion of children engaging in online and other services, save for particular periods, because their socialization is going awry. Their education and development is being thwarted by easy access. And I dare say a lot of parents end up relying on kids being otherwise engaged, and that is one of the biggest problems we have.
So does that online and digital era element account for why many of these incidents are actually now captured on video, not by a bystander, but usually by the participants in the act of bullying themselves?
Yes, because the more outrageous it is, the more hits you're going to have, and horrendously, the more likes you're going to have, because children whose behavior and socialization and ethical upbringing is being shaped during these formative years take these as normal, take these as the exemplars to emulate. So that mixture is dangerous, toxic, and is going to harm our future leadership, who are going to be growing up with believing that doing these kinds of
Prof Cooper? All right, it seems we are losing the line there to Professor Thulasizwe Cooper. He was in the middle of making a point about the role of online and the digital space in just this culture of bullying that we see. Let's see if we can try and get him back on, because we would like for him to just finish off the point that he was making about some of the dynamics at play. We've been analyzing, right? We've been analyzing it over and over, turning it over multiple times. So, Prof, you were making the point about the role of proliferation of content that should be frowned upon, but actually sometimes is not online.
Well, not sometimes. It is more often than not acceptable, because you look at our conduct as adults, Thulasizwe, and we on something we've received. It's funny, it's fine. Sometimes and often it is about what's going on in our country, which is terrible. We post that online. We post it to our friends and families and so on, without even a warning that, look, the content is dangerous. In fact, our main news channels rarely give warning. In fact, sometimes it's so normal that we forget this requires serious warning. And the onus is on to guide the young people, because we're not guiding them, we're leaving them to their own resources. The result is an uncertain individual. Say the person is looking for affirmation within the home. Person feels they're not coping at school, or they're overindulged, and then
Prof. Cooper, the line is letting us down in a major way, but I think we covered enough of that conversation. So unfortunately, I do have to leave it there. That's Professor Thulasizwe Cooper, former president of the Psychological Society of South Africa.
After a 0-0 draw in West Africa, Stellies gets it that their next match is do or die. They want to remain in the continental competition, but their Ghanaian visitors are confident they will steal the show. This is the second leg of the second preliminary round of the CAF Confederation Cup. Be part of the action. Stellenbosch FC versus 15 de Agosto this Sunday, 26 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
To say that I have a backlog of your voice notes to play would be an understatement. So if you allow me, let me pull myself back a little bit. Let me allow the debate to just flow organically on its own, right? Let me start with this one about gang violence, and then I want to go to the others. Someone wants to talk about former President Jacob Zuma and the ruling that says he must now pay 28.9 million rand.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and the SAFM listeners. Listen, Thulasizwe, the kids or the young people, they lack good role models, positive role models. Do you think the kids are inspired by their teachers? No, in these communities, the kids are not inspired by their teachers. They're inspired by gangsters, because gangsters have flashy things and teachers are struggling there. It's AB in Cape Town.
Good morning, Chulas and the team. Good show as always. As a novice, I'm not a legal scholar. I believe Zuma was not acting on his behalf when he was involved in the arms deal. He was acting for the state. So I think the state should be held liable for his legal fees. PK, thank you.
Tulas and the team, good morning. Umgoni again. Tulas, what's the difference between the case of Voter Person and Jacob Zuma when it's come to funding? I just want to get the difference because I hear that Voter Person was paid by the state. Another thing, so Umpegi, who's the one who signed the agreement, he will not face any consequences. Thank you, Chulas.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think let me just talk to the difference. At least from how the case has been carried forward in the courts, the argument has been that where he is accused of corruption, former President Zuma, and is standing in the courts and briefing counsel on that, and expenditure is being incurred in relation to that. That has to do with conduct that they say was not state sanctioned, right? So at the heart of the issue is conduct from when he was MEC in KwaZulu-Natal, and they're saying he wasn't acting on behalf of the state, and the state should not have incurred that expenditure because that's personal legal troubles that you face, and you must deal with them in your own space. And when you mention voter person, my understanding is that the actions are considered to have been sanctioned by the state then. He was doing it on behalf of the state, the biological weapons and all the other activities that he was involved in. All of that is said to have been part of. So it's similar to when a police officer, in the cause and scope of the work that they do, and they get involved in some kind of activity that violates someone's rights, you are acting within the cause and scope of your work versus if, in this instance, as alleged, the conduct was more personal for your own personal benefit and the likes. So I think that's the little distinguishing factor. But I would encourage you to read the SCA judgment that talked to those issues because it was argued at length. There were many arguments. In fact, they even argued it even this time around in the High Court, where Advocate, as Samgele Masego was telling us, Advocate Masugu was arguing that yes, the SCA said it was unlawful, but it didn't mean that he should pay personally. What about those who approved these payments? The state attorney office and other people, various officials across the value chain over the years.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Just a reminder, major delays going into Pretoria this morning using the N14. This is the Ben Schoeman section between Jean Avenue and really the sort of city centre. If you normally do the N14, you join it either from Jean Avenue or you come on at Brockfontein off the N1 or off the Krugersdorp Highway. Just sort of avoid that to avoid a massive queue. Reroute up the N1, take Botha Avenue or preferably the R21 through Monument Park, through Fountain Circle and work into Pretoria Central that way. If you sit on that N14 after that sort of Snake Valley, Vrede Road exit, then you're really going to be there for quite some time. The N3 North from Alex up into Buccleuch stays heavy. The Mike 1 this morning, Woodmead heading down towards Corlett Drive, very slow. And there is some pressure on the N12 again this morning, just moving through sort of Atlas Road, Rondebolt Road territory. Benoni through to Boxburg, very busy. Fields Hill going into Pinetown through Kloof is still very sluggish as well. And Cape Town, three really big problems this morning. One is the closure of Baden-Powell Drive at Khayelitsha. That is primarily forcing a lot of traffic to jam up Spine Road as a detour between the N2 highway and Jafta K Masamola. So plenty of congestion there, as well as just through Mfuleni and Mitchell's Plain as motorists divert. The other big closure is from today until Monday. 4 days of a closure of the M3, Philip Kasana from Hospital Bend to the city centre, both directions. Very heavy pressure getting in towards Cape Town on the N2. Routes like Lisbeck Parkway, Klipfontein Road, M5, M3, all noticeably busy because of that disruption along the N2 corridor. And the other issue is what appears to be a fatal collision on Marine Drive at Dolphin Beach Hotel. Behind that, there's some very heavy traffic coming off the Bloberg beachfront and out of Tableview. Routes like Bloberg Road, West Coast Road, all caught up as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, lots of reflections as well on the conversation we had with Elijah Mhlanga a short while ago about the Gauteng traffic or crime wardens, Amapanyaza, and the changes that are coming in that regard.
Good morning to us. Elijah Mhlanga mustn't think we are fools here. He mustn't come fool us and think we are all kids here. What do you expect from Elijah Mhlanga? Was a spokesperson for education. What do you expect from him? Lies, 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 lies. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told them, and Fanima Simula told them, but they came out guns blazing for General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Aye, man.
Morning, Tulas. It's Andrew from Butterworth. Hey, Elijah must go back to education. He's now mixing with these people and he's being forced to lie.
And
you can actually feel that this guy is lying and he can feel it himself as well. Oh.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Can you ask Elijah if these wardens are being vetted or not? Because some of them, we know them, some of us that they don't qualify to be there. Actually, they are criminal. Some of them were criminals, so we want to know if they are being vetted.
Wow, important question there.
Good morning, Thulas. The Mapanyaza. You know what is my concern? My concern now is that we have people who were working with police. They now have classified information, very important information related to the police. And these people are now going to be left to go around the communities with that information. The information might actually be used against the police. Thank you.
All right, let me take one more along that vein before I go to two calls, one from Malanga in Lenasia.
Tulas, we need to support Panyaza Lusif on this program. We've got high unemployment rate and many people are benefiting out of this. If it be, we can even change the legislation just to accommodate these people. But we are happy that there are many stakeholders that are acquiring these services for our people. Secondly, I need to...
All right, I don't know what happened there. You need to be continued. I guess you'll send another voice note to finish off. Thank you for that, though. I don't think anyone will quibble with the importance of, where possible, job creation by the state should happen. And I don't think anyone will question the motives, and, I doubt very much. It's just a matter of the Premier Panyaza Lesufi has the wherewithal at his disposal to have really constructed this properly. I don't know, for me at least, it's not acceptable that it doesn't appear that they ran through everything. What does the Constitution, in terms of the areas of responsibility, what does it say? How does it demarcate it exactly? Control of the police. Who can become a peace officer under what circumstances? Who can be designated a peace officer? Because that became now the core of the issue that former Minister Ronald Lamula, in terms of that request, former Minister of Justice, that is, when he was being asked to make these people peace officers, the question was, based on which legislation are you turning them into peace officers? So for me, it's just run through the entirety of what you are trying to do, the program. And there's expertise, allegedly, within the system that should have guided how exactly do you craft this program. The motives, the need for more boots on the ground, I don't think anyone can debate that. Malanga in Lenasia, good morning.
Morning to the Caesar, morning to the listeners.
Yes.
To the Caesar, I just want to comment on the Melinatil incident. These kids, to the Caesar, they all come from different families, and their behavior is similar. So it says to us South Africans that there is a problem with violence, because violence is a learned concept. It's not something that is inborn.
Yeah.
So we've got a problem of violence in South Africa. That's what we must deal with. The source where we come from the families where we come from, say, unlearn this thing of violence, so that our kids and us and our behavior as adults towards the kids, that they understand that violence is a bad thing.
Sure.
And also, I want to say my last one. Kwali, siyabonga kakhulu Jenene, Mkhwanazi, for coming up with that media briefing on the 6th of July.
Yeah.
Keep it up. We need more people like Ubaba Mkhwanazi. Thank you. Yeah,
Malanga, thank you for that. I don't know why, I'm just reminded. What was on Mambo Mkhwanazi? We have Mkhwanazi. Oh my goodness, what a time to be alive. Sanele, good morning.
Morning, Thulas. I just want to touch on what the professor was saying about bullying.
Yes.
I think he's ignoring the real issues. One, bullying has existed for quite a long time, even during our days. So to suggest that social media is the main cause, for a lack of a better word, I think it's misinformed. So it just allowed it to spread in the fashion that it has, but it's not the primary reason why bullying exists. So maybe if he was given enough time to touch on other issues, but I don't think social media is the main one.
Yeah, it's a pity, Sanel. I don't think I could be wrong. I don't think that's the point he was making, but it's a pity we lost the line to him. I think he was mentioning it as an increasingly important factor. The existence of children in the digital space, both as a facilitator of bullying, in that there's a lot of cyberbullying, including cyberbullying of children, especially teenagers who are in high school, as well as a platform for the proliferation of material that's generated in the course of bullying that happens in school corridors, for example.
Yeah, point taken, but I still think it's more of an enabler than the cause.
Yeah.
So, it would have been nice to hear what he was going to say. But hopefully next time we can,
all right.
Connect with him.
Sanele, thank you for that. That's Sanele out in Cape Town. I want to end off with this short one. It's really short. 10 seconds about President Cyril Ramaphosa.
It's quite amazing how the DA pursues Zuma, but they cannot pursue Ramaphosa's Palapala case.
All right, there you have it. Short and sharp. I don't know if you heard that. Quite amazing how the DA pursues Zuma but cannot pursue Ramaphosa's Palapala case. On that note then, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. The Talking Point with KG Mweketsi is up next here on SAFM after the news with N. Musa. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and you've been briefed.
In our top stories, witness testimony on killer behind Vereniging engineers hit, and President Ramaphosa to meet the Vietnamese Prime Minister. Good morning. Witness B testified at the Madlanga Commission that alleged criminal cartel member Katiso KT Molife's nephew Lucky ordered the hit on Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. Swart was gunned down in April last year outside his work premises Q-Tech in Vereniging in Gauteng. 4 people were arrested for his murder, including Katiso Molife. Witness B's testimony substantiated that of Witness A in relation to events leading up to Swart's assassination and those that transpired thereafter. Sibahle Mota reports.
Witness B testified at the Madlanga Commission that she believes that Katiso Molife's nephew Lucky is the one who ordered the hit on Q-Tech employee and engineer Armand Swart. Lucky Molife worked at Transnet when the company that he's also linked to, the SK Group, got awarded a tender from the state-owned company. However, an employee and whistleblower at Q-Tech sounded the alarm bells over the awarding of the tender to the SK Group, even when it was not advertised. This subsequently prompted an investigation into the matter. Swart was gunned down days after the investigation was instituted in a case of mistaken identity.
Former Police Minister Bheki Cele will appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee over the next 2 days. The committee was established following allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system made by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Cele, who was the police minister between February 2018 to June of last year, would have overseen the operations of the political killing task team during his tenure. The same task team, Minister Senzo Mchunu, who has been placed on special leave, decided to disband. Yesterday, Mchunu told ANC MP Kusela Diko that his predecessor did not give him any handover notes involving the PKTT.
Not as I read it. What was there, though, was a reference to committees in which the minister was serving, not necessarily the National Political Killings Task Team per se in any form.
Did he maybe give any reason at any point why he did not shut down the unit himself?
Not really. We didn't delve into that matter.
A woman has died after a wall collapsed on her at Mankweng shopping complex outside Polokwane in Limpopo yesterday. The Polokwane municipality has sent its building inspector team to investigate. The municipality spokesperson Tipa Silala.
The municipality has swiftly activated its building inspectorate team to assess compliance against the approved plans. Already several properties have been issued with letters to correct their compliance shortcomings as the municipality continues to prioritize the safety of residents and visitors.
The organisation Undoing Tax Abuse Outer has declared the Tembisa Hospital east of Johannesburg as an active crime scene. A handful of outer members demonstrated outside the hospital yesterday. A report by the Special Investigating Unit revealed 2 billion rand has been lost to tender irregularities and fraud at the health facility. Whistleblower Babita Dukaran was killed after exposing procurement fraud at the health facility 4 years ago. Ali Gule is one of the outer members.
We're here because we regard this hospital as an active crime scene. It must be declared an active crime scene. With all what has happened here, we still fight for justice for Babita. Other than that, we're happy that SIU has released a preliminary report. We're anticipating the second one. We don't know when, but there's a lot that has happened at this hospital. We have seen the issue of the hospital mentioned at Madlanga Commission, ad hoc commission. We appreciate those that have been arrested, but we want to see the real prosecution.
And finally, President Cyril Ramaphosa will today meet with the Vietnamese Prime Minister on a state visit. Vietnam is expanding its consumer market, which presents promising opportunities for South African exporters. The trip follows a visit to Indonesia. The International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola says the President's visit is important as South Africa aims to strengthen its relations with Asian countries.
This leg of the visit is very, very important for also diversification of our markets into the Vietnam economy, because Vietnam is one of the fastest growing economies in Southeast Asia. It remains a very important market. It's a developing country, an emerging market.
Recapping the top story, witness B has testified at the Matlanga Commission that alleged criminal cartel member Katiso KT Molife's nephew Lucky ordered the hit on Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Gordon Ramsay is back, and your favorite kitchen disasters are still somehow in business. New season, same confused chefs, terrifying walk-ins, and enough grease to fry your Wi-Fi. Watch as Gordon tries to fix the unfixable with nothing but sheer rage, British sarcasm, and an iron stomach. Kitchen Nightmares Season 8, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Come for the food, stay for the emotional damage.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your clientele legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Pneumococcal disease can strike at any time, especially if you live with a chronic condition or have weakened immunity. If you're 19 and older with the chronic disease, vaccination can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia. The risk increases for people 65 and older, and vaccination is advised to help prevent serious illness. Ask your healthcare professional about pneumococcal vaccination. Don't wait. Vaccinate. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Don't miss your chance to shape the future. The Limpopo Investment Conference 2025, Limpopo Rising, Africa's new investment frontier. Your gateway to unparalleled opportunities from October 30 and 31st in Polokwane. Seize the groundbreaking prospects in mining, agriculture, tourism, and green energy. Connect with global visionaries and investors driving Africa's economic boom. Limpopo's wealth is waiting. Be part of the rise. Join the conversation on lic.lcxonline.co.za. Invest in Limpopo. Invest in success.
The Natal Rich Boys and the Citizens are in a tense and dramatic clash for a semi-final spot.
This is the Calling Knockout quarterfinal.
Catch the KZN Derby, Richards Bay FC versus Durban City FC. This Saturday, 25 October at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 1. Then on Mungana Lonene FM at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point on SAFM. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
If I look to youth movements in Africa, there are two waves. From 2010 to 2020, it's the millennials. From 2020 ongoing, it's the Gen Z. And the Gen Z in Africa, they have a different fight. It's not about democracy versus dictatorship anymore. It's about governance, and it's about global and anti-colonial issues. So the Gen Z in Kenya, they have been protesting for the past year an IMF-backed financial bill. The Gen Z in West Africa, they're protesting the CFA colonial currency, and so on. So what can we learn from this moment? 3 things. One is people power. I heard people mentioning the example of Mamdani in relation to his message to the voter, but no one is talking about the 50,000 volunteers he mobilized. We're too hanged up on the voter behavior, and we're not going back to basics, to the grassroots and organizing, because when institutions are weak, it's movements, it's citizens, and it's coalition that hold power. The second thing, I think democracy needs to deliver dignity. And we know that the hard way in Tunisia. Our revolution slogan was شغل حرية كرامة وطنية. Jobs, freedom, dignity. Your voter concern, the number one for rich countries, is the cost of living. Our voter concern, number one, is jobs with dignity. The 12 million young people that enter the workforce every year in Africa. My brother, Adam, in 2013, was radicalized by Daesh. He was newly graduate engineer. He had capacity, he had access, but he didn't have opportunity. And access to capacity without access to opportunity is access to frustration. Then we act surprised when young people rise up, when they are struggling between armed groups and drugs and dying in the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, what other choice we're giving them? Finally, the far right is pouring billions into undermining democracy everywhere in the world. Why is it so hard to invest in leaders who defend it? I mean, I'll give you a small example. I organized a conference in Freetown, Sierra Leone, Just this July, I brought together 100 women, progressive women leaders from all generations, from 35 African countries. I reached out to our family of progressive actors for democracy in the rich countries, and no one wanted to fund this event. Until today, we are in deficit to vendors and venues. Why? Because we are defending democracy in debt. We are defending democracy in scarcity. And yet, we put our bodies on the line for it. But if this continues, we will lose trust in the global progressive movement for democracy until you put your money where your mouth is.
And those are the words of Aya Chebi. Aya Chebi is a Pan-African feminist, a Tunisian diplomat, and a former African Union envoy for youth. And these words were said in 2018, remain relevant today in 2025. I love the line where she says, when institutions are weak, movements should be what hold power. With that, welcome to Thursday's edition of The Talking Point. Ke Khomotso KG Mweketsi. I'm in today for Kathy Mutlatlana. It's SFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. We hope to have one great one today. Our studio numbers 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, the SMS line 41391. 41391, though, will come to you at around 50 on WhatsApp 061 410 4107. Get us on X. We are at SFM Radio, and please hashtag SFM Talking Point whenever you want to talk to us. So today is a special day for us because from about 9:30 we're spending 60 minutes with Francesca Albanese. She is an international lawyer who specializes in human rights and specifically the Middle East. She's the author of prestigious publications, and her academic works cover various aspects of the question of Palestine, the legal situation in Israel-Palestine, and the Palestinian forced displacement. She's also part of a coalition of prominent regional and international experts and scholars engaged in the issue of Israel-Palestine, and she's set to make a keynote speech at the 23rd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture this weekend in Sandton. And if you didn't know, the theme for this year's Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture is Enhancing Peace and Global Cooperation, and the theme is important to critically reflect on given given the contemporary challenges of advancing social justice causes in a fragmented geopolitical landscape, especially as humanitarian matters get sidelined by realpolitik considerations. So we're very excited to talk to her and would like to also alert you to the fact that we're giving away 5 double tickets to attend the 2025 edition of the Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture, which, as I said, is being delivered by Francesca Albanese, the UN Rapporteur on the Palestinian territories. And the lecture will take place on Saturday at the Sandton Convention Center. And to win tickets to the lecture, you answer the question, what is the theme of the 23rd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture? And then you answer, followed by your name via our WhatsApp line. Okay, that's on 0614104107. Winners will be announced before the end of the show, and winners, though, must absolutely be able to travel by themselves to and from Sandton Convention Center, Johannesburg, on the day of the Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture. It's a busy day today. There's a big thing that is happening at the ad hoc committee. By the way, I did say my name is Khomotso KG Mweketsi. There's a big thing happening at the ad hoc committee in that the former police minister, Bheki Cele, makes an appearance today. I'm sure you may want to talk about that. So we've got a very short open line. Zuma has been forced by courts. I think it was yesterday, if my memory is serving me correctly, because I was traveling yesterday. He was forced by courts to pay back monies that were paid for him for legal fees. that were paid by the state for legal fees. I think they amount to just over 20 million rands, and there's clear and succinct consequences of what will happen if that money is not paid back. So there's a lot we'd like to hear from you, and of course the finality of the cross questioning of the suspended police minister in the ad hoc committee, and the things also that came out of the Madlanga Commission are very, very shocking things that came out of the Madlanga Commission. So please participate in the short open line, but also please participate when we talk to Francesca Albanese. I think she's amazing, and I think she's going to give us probably one of the most amazing conversations we've ever had on this radio station. We cross our fingers for that. We'll be back with your calls. It's 9:18.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
So welcome back to the open line. Let me sensitize you to the fact that our guest today, Francesca Albanese, is en route to the SABC. As much as I've said, we anticipate to start with her at 9:30. If it's 9:35, 9:40, please give us some grace because she's traveling, and we all know what Joburg traffic is like. So she's traveling, and whenever she gets her, we will give her an hour's worth of a conversation. Magwega Ayaqubana in Cape Town about KEF. Hi.
KG, how are you?
KG for
KG,
Komotso.
sorry.
Komotso.
Good morning, KG.
Good morning. Hi.
I'm good, sis, and you?
Good, thanks.
KG, I'm not good, actually. I don't know when...
You take it back.
I don't know when president of KEF can check this. Why I'm saying...
We're talking about Patrice Motsepe now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando Pirates, they play a game there that side. But the fans of Orlando Pirates, they said there were 3 goals disallowed on that match for Orlando Pirates. And when I came across with the clips on TikTok, those guys, they were not playing a fair football. And I'm asking myself, when those African countries will change the way they are doing, because when they come on this side, on us, we treat them very, very well. But go that side, you will get a bad treatment. The beach, the food, everything is complaining. When a president is going to intervene on that?
So, I mean, specifically, what level of unfairness did you see? And do you think if the KEF president is not seeing to it, it should perhaps even be, if it's possible, highlighted to FIFA?
I'm not sure about that. Because, I don't know. But what I seen, because that game, the people said the game was...
Because I didn't watch the game. That's why I'm asking, yeah?
They said that match was not televised.
Okay.
It's only you get on that side. So it's just only the clips which I saw. I saw the guy was kicking the ball until the feet land until in the chest of a Orlando Pirates player. There was no yellow card, there was no red card, and there was a pulling there like they were playing a rugby. I don't know really.
Yeah. So what has he said up to now, Patrice Motsepe?
Sorry?
What has he said up to now about that specific game?
I can hear you, probably I'm in a wrong place actually.
Why can't you hear me? Because I can hear you.
Okay, now I think I can hear you now.
I'm saying, what has Patrice Motsepe said up to now about that game?
I don't know, sister.
So what do you want? You want the team to be sanctioned, the team that we were playing that Orlando Pirates was playing against, not we.
Not even. I'm not talking about the Orlando Pirates. I'm talking about those South African teams like Sundowns, Chiefs, Pirates, who are Stellenbosch, who are playing that side. At least CAF, it's all under CAF. At least CAF or FIFA can have a look on it.
Okay. Thank you, Magwicha.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I suppose those of you that watched or know the dynamics better than me can call and chip in, because I'm looking at Lebu. Lebu's level of soccer knowledge is mostly questionable, I think. And I'm looking at Kanya. I don't trust her either in her knowledge of football. So I think we're all left wanting right now. So if you can add one or two to what Magwicha was saying, Lisiba Khobokwane, Zuma's court ruling on paying back the legal fees. Hi, Lisiba, good morning.
A very good morning to yourself, KG and Lebu, and thanks for taking my call.
Yes, hi.
I just want to say there is good signs that are emerging out of the presidency office, and I believe that office, if can be given a chance, space, and be supported, we'll see a lot of good work beginning to be coming out of that office. Because you see, if there is a
be slow.
willingness,
wait, Lisiba.
yes.
As in you're saying you're seeing good signs coming out of the Ramaphosa presidency, and you want it
office
to
of
be
the presidency, because I'm speaking in reference to just the court that has been decided that former President Zuma must repay all the legal costs that were used during his
But why do you credit the presidency for that? That's why I'm stopping you.
It's a presidency which is pursuing this money, because it's themselves who took President Zuma to court.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, if other departments and other provincial governments, because we know of this kind of money in many different departments, including the municipalities, where the mayors, the premiers, the MEC were using state money to defend themselves in court. But if there is a political willingness like what we have observed, then it will be good for the country, because that 30 million that was used for this case, the money should have been used at the rural areas, because we've got the people in the far rural areas of our country who still don't have access to judicial services. But if the money can be used in this way, it will be good for the country. And I'm saying to you, as KG, if Zuma will refuse to pay that money, it's got the property that has been developed by the taxpayer in Kanta, and it's got another property in Johannesburg Forest. Those are the areas that we need to target and recover so that we can sell them to get the money belongs to the taxpayers. We can't say government is struggling, the public purse is under pressure, we can't deliver on the mandate given to us, while people are busy looting the money all over the show. But then if this accountability is going to be emphasized, because the officials, these politicians, they don't take decisions on themselves, they don't sit in the government position where decisions are made. Those officials who made it possible for Zuma legal team to access that money, they must be held accountable, because I've been saying in many times that normally the politicians, they don't even request to these things. The officials, because they know what they are doing, they'll go to politician approved things illegally, support illegal programs, and make sure that they also squander the money so that the politician will not take action against them. But let's follow this official now, make sure that we recover the money as well. There must be accountability.
Lisiba, I hear you. For me, the most interesting thing about that judgment, actually, is the fact that Zuma has been given a 60-day deadline to repay that money. And if he does not repay that money within 60 days from yesterday was the 21st of October, 22nd, sorry, yesterday was the 22nd of October. 60 days from yesterday is probably about the 20th of December, if my calculations are correct. And if he doesn't pay that money, the state attorney has the go-ahead to attach and sell his assets, and this includes movable and immovable property as well as his presidential pension. The exact amount is a nearly 29 million rand plus interest. So for me, I suppose what will be interesting is to see what happens within that 60 days.
You know what's going to happen, KG? Members of parliament representing Thulasizwe party there, the money will be raised from them, and they will be willing to pay it, and they must just pay it because they are there employed under Thulasizwe, which is a Stockfell organization belongs to his family. That's where he should get the money. We'll never even go to his property and other things. Those members of MK in the provincial legislature and in parliament, they will be able to raise that money from their allowances and pay that money. We don't want fuss about it. We don't want to debate it. It's our money. As soon as we get the money, we'll use where it's supposed to be used. But those officials who made it possible, now the second step, we must pursue them.
We'll see. I think we're watching this space. Thanks, Lisiba.
We will do that. We will definitely do that.
Thanks, Lisiba. Lisiba is very passionate, clearly, about that one. Dumisa, you're in Cape Town. You want to talk racism in Cape Town. Hi, Dumisa. I hope you know you have a minute and a half. Hi.
Oh, yes, Kathy. Yeah, KG is speaking to
me. When you do that.
No. Look, KG, my thing is when it comes to Cape Town. By the way, I grew up in Cape Town. I got here when I was 7, so I started in Cape Town, grew up in Cape Town all of my life. And in most cases, I hear that when people comment, they're saying Cape Town there's racism, the DA has got racist laws and all that. But when I look at it, my own view is when I look at the workforce of the Western Cape, in all the like the provincial offices where the DA runs, like your law enforcement and all those jobs that for the state in the Western Cape, and mostly it's blacks that works on those jobs. Even most of the jobs you go to Cape Town, you find that mostly it's predominantly Xhosas most that are here, most especially the blacks that are in Cape Town.
You need to get to your point quickly. I did say time is running out because it's 9:30 now.
So now I'm just wondering how did this came about to say that Cape Town is the most racist province?
So you disagree? You're saying it's not?
No, I do. I grew up here.
So basically, you're saying it's not racist?
It's not. Most especially the workforce is not. I don't see it.
Okay. We'll hear what other callers have to say. Thanks, Dumisa. We're going to go to the news headlines now, and Musa is standing by.
Good morning. Thanks, KG. In the headlines, former OR Tambo District Municipal Council Speaker Xolile Nkompela is threatening to sue Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, who's on special leave. This afternoon, Mchunu testified before the ad hoc committee in Parliament that Nkompela was ambushed and died in 2021. Witness B testified at the Madlanga Commission that alleged criminal cartel member Katiso Katie Molife's nephew Lucky ordered the hit on Vereniging engineer Armin Swart. Swart was gunned down in April last year outside his work premises, Q-Tech. And the civil society group Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse has criticized the repurposing of the crime prevention wardens, also known as Amapanyaza. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Think about 6 years ago, when Amapiano was just a musical instrument, when streaming meant watching water flow, not videos online, And remote work was only said when your remote batteries died. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? All Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Channel your inner feel good on Expresso this October, from big global moments like the G20 summit to how it all plays out right here at home.
We are keeping it real this Mental Health Awareness Month with conversations that lift and inspire. And of course, all the good stuff that you love, delicious food, fashion trends, and everything in between.
Wake up with the Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. You are listening to KG Mwekezi on SAFM.
So we did say when we started the program today that we were praying for the Joburg traffic gods to be on our side, for our guest to make it on time. And our guest did make it on time. As I said, she's an international lawyer that has specialized in human rights in the Middle East. She's the author of prestigious publications, and her academic works cover various aspects of the question of Palestine, the legal situation in Israel and Palestine, and Palestinian forced displacements. She's also part of a coalition of prominent regional and international experts and scholars that are engaged in the issue of Israel and Palestine. And she's set to make a keynote address at the 23rd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture this Saturday. It's got a theme, and the theme for the annual lecture is Enhancing Peace and Global Cooperation. Francesca Albanese is my guest in the studio, but I think the CEO of the SABC, Nomsa Chabedi, wants to be the one who welcomes her first. Nice to meet you, Ms. Nomsa Chabedi. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you, and good morning to our listeners. And thank you for having me. And I'd like to formally welcome Ms. Francesca Albanese to SABC, but most importantly to the country. We look forward to hearing your thoughts tomorrow as you deliver the Nelson Mandela Lecture, which is something that South Africans look forward to on an annual basis. And I think we are blessed to have you on SAFM. We have our listeners who are very engaged, who really see this as a platform that allows different views across the South African society to engage and to be heard. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming through. I think, I want to start with Mandela. You're here for the annual lecture. And before we even talk about Palestine, because Palestine and the question of Palestine and Africa is one I want to intertwine. And when we talk the Nelson Mandela lecture, Mandela has an interesting legacy depending on which generation you ask, because the generation that precedes 1994 and the elections, really, particularly the black generation in South Africa, give glaring and great reviews for the Mandela era and what Mandela did for freedom in South Africa. But as you know, you come to a South Africa that is the most unequal society in the world. The haves have a lot, and the have-nots practically have nothing. And as a result, some of them question Mandela's legacy. And I'm sure you've read about that as you were preparing for your lecture that you're giving actually on Saturday, not tomorrow. So what have your thoughts been around Mandela, knowing all of that? Let's start there.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and good morning, South Africa. Look, coming from outside, I would start by saying that Mandela is an icon. He's an icon for freedom. and of freedom globally. So he's associated, because I don't want to isolate him. I personally don't have the perception of him as exceptional in a way that is different. He has led a movement. He's the icon of the children of South Africa who broke the chain at a certain point. They broke the chain of 300 years of European settler colonialism, the last 50 of which got the name of apartheid. So clearly there is an idea of liberation and immense humanity associated with it, because somewhat, I think, despite the wounds that the man Nelson Mandela would carry, he was someone who chose what at that point was best for the nation looking forward. At the same time, of course I'm aware of the, not necessarily, I wouldn't call them the contradictions, but yes, I'm aware of the profound wounds that this kind, and inequalities and contradictions that this country still endures. But the question is, isn't it the normal and expected in a country that has endured so much violence and so much oppression, where apartheid has been dismantled, but still the
legacy of colonialism stays.
The legacy of colonialism is an implant of economic exploitation, is a structure, and I see that in Palestine. So, and transforming this requires time on top of healing the wounds. It's something that it builds into your DNA, and cultural, societal change takes time. The other thing that I wanted to bring to this is that just yesterday, as I was visiting the Nelson Mandela Foundation, I had the privilege to look at and hold letters and other papers that he wrote, and I was really light struck by the last lines of one of the last papers that he wrote, and these reflections were not eventually didn't translate into the book that he was planning to write. But he said, I am no saint.
I am no saint.
I am no saint. And this is the thing. I mean, would stay, one of the most important things that resonate with me is that when he said, I am an ordinary man who find himself into extraordinary circumstances.
Yes.
And this is the thing. There is a tendency to look at people, especially people who have done a lot, as it's in absolute terms. It's absolute good or absolute evil. And no, we are humans. And I think he has done the most, together with the people, with the many people, men and women, who helped, again, break the chains of apartheid. But then, of course, there is a lot that is to be brought forward. And justice, and this is part of his legacy, it's an unfinished job. In Palestine, like in South Africa. I love that line.
Justice is an unfinished job. Okay, let's go to Palestine, because, I mean, it's the crux of the work that has put you in the eyes of the globe. Let's start first on getting your opinions on the ceasefire agreement of the last couple of days. What do you make of it?
My opinion has not changed from the moment I heard about the deal, the ceasefire deal.
The nature of the deal.
Yes. I've welcomed the cessation of hostilities. So it was presented.
For the people of Palestine particularly?
Yeah, because they've been the one for whom the skies have transformed into a generator of bombing every day. They've been carpet bombed for 2 years, virtually uninterrupted, other than for 4 days in November 2023 and a couple of months this year. But I was wary of the fact that Israel's ceasefire is normally that The other sees and they fire. And this is, in fact, what has happened because 100 people, 100
the others
people.
Sees and they fire.
It's Hamas.
Yes.
Hamas.
Yes.
By the way, and then we will go to the context. But what has made me more uncomfortable is that besides the very good news of the liberation of the hostages and the Israeli hostages and the liberation of Palestinian detained persons, prisoners, and other unlawfully detained people. What was laid out in that plan made me really uncomfortable because it's not peace, it's an enforced surrender for a people under occupation, which will remain under the conditions of the plan, under occupation, but in disguise.
Yeah.
And where is the self-determination of the Palestinian people? Self-determination means that they need to determine themselves. They cannot be under tutelage of anyone, all the more the state that has committed war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide, and it continues to do that. It's so cynical and sadistic that it really pains me to see what the Palestinians continue to endure. They are killed, they are blamed, and they are smeared. And this is unacceptable.
I'm coming back a little bit to Africa before I stay on with Palestine, because Africa also matters, and you come to give your lecture, particularly in Africa. And I want to phrase my question and say, why should Palestine matter to the people of Africa? The people of, let's say, South Africa, who will say to you, okay, so our country went to the ICJ and, pushed for this case against Palestine, and yet left us behind and left us destitute and haven't dealt with the issues that they face. Why should Palestine matter to Africa, especially Africa, which faces its own many wars right now? Look at what is happening in the DRC. I could go on on. Yes. So why should Palestine today, on the, what's the date? 23rd of October, matter to Africans who are listening to this conversation between you and me?
Yes. Look, I could start with a principle of humanity and saying, because injustice somewhere is injustice everywhere. But no, I want to start with something very practical. When I wrote my report, from the economy of the occupation to an economy of genocide, I said if Palestine were a crime scene, it would have the fingerprints of all of us. It's because the injustices in Palestine would have not been possible without the complicity, without the support and the profiteering of so many. So there is an entire circuit of private entities who have participated. And now in my last report, which became public yesterday, I say genocide in Gaza is a collective crime that wouldn't have happened hadn't it been for the complicity, the active support at the diplomatic, political, military and economic level of so many countries. And this is the thing, South Africa has been phenomenal. It has restored a sense of international legality globally in taking action against Israel, bringing Israel before an international tribunal and initiating something historical, because this is the first settler colonial genocide that will ever be litigated before an international tribunal. Because look at what has happened has there been an international tribunal for the indigenous people who were genocided in North America, from Canada to the United States, or the Aboriginal people or Australia? No, but the story, what they are enduring, this genocide resonates with them because it's an erasure of a people, it's a destruction of a people in order to achieve the ethnic cleansing of what remains of Palestine. But the question is that the member states have clear obligations under international law. They cannot aid and assist a state which is committing internationally wrongful acts, all the more when these acts are crimes that are war crimes, or like destroying hospitals, targeting civilians, or crimes against humanity, like forcibly displacing the civilian population through systemic and widespread attacks, or using starvation to destroy the population. And so this has happened. And the question is South Africa, like other countries? Look, I've just looked at the performance of 62 states, and 62 states at different ways and different degrees have contributed. And South Africa remains engaged with Israel at the commercial level, it still trades with Israel. So yes, while it brings Israel to the ICJ, it still provides coal, which is what it powers. The genocidal machinery.
In fact, I went to buy dates at my local supermarket the other day, and I found dates from Israel, and I was like, "Oh wow, we have dates from Israel in my local supermarket today in 2025." While this happens, but then. Again, today, there's Palestinian medics that are not released by Israel. Medics that are meant to take care of the many injured people in Palestine. Talk to me about that.
Look, first of all,
in the midst of the ceasefire.
Just to also to complete what I was saying before. I've often said, this is not the first time, and I'm not saying that because I'm in Africa, but I've said what the legal developments in Palestine are groundbreaking for Congo. I think that there is one country where I would probably devote so much energy with what I know right now, if I were not the special rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territory, would be Congo. The country, the richest country on earth, which is completely devastated by conflict, but resource control induced conflict. And why so? And this is exactly because of what I was highlighting before. Self-determination doesn't rest with the people and doesn't even rest with the state. Is controlled and is affected by entities that control financial and economic resources and profits. And so this is the thing. I mean, look at the ICJ telling the world that the Palestinians have the right to self-determination, to determine themselves politically, but also to enjoy their natural resources. So Israel needs to withdraw the occupation, dismantle the settlements, stop the depleting Palestinian natural resources, and offer reparations. This has implications for the people of Congo as well. This is the meaning of self-determination. Do the people of Congo enjoy the right of self-determination? Of course not. So this is...
Okay. I'm being told about the commercial break. Let me quickly go to the commercial break, and then we'll continue our conversation.
Yes.
We are in conversation, by the way, with Francesca Albanese. She's an international lawyer specializing in human rights and the Middle East. And since May 2022, she's served as the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territory occupied since 1967. If you want to join the conversation, you know you can call her on 086 000 2032. Send a WhatsApp on 0614 4107. Lots of WhatsApps coming through. Just try and be quick and to the point, and we'll come back with our guest in a short while.
Streaming Skim Sum on the way to class.
Catching the Premier League while waiting for your order.
Jamming to Metro FM before you even get out of bed.
On SABC Plus, sinayo yonke into ifunayo. Your shows, your music, your way, anytime, anywhere. Zero subscription fees.
On your phone, tablet, or smart TV.
Download SABC Plus on iOS or Google Play Store.